Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone's having a nice Sunday. Happy Stardew Sunday with that too. Everyone's doing well. I'm doing okay. I'm really kind of tired because I couldn't fall asleep last night, which sucked. There was no falling asleep last night. I don't know why. I was up till like between 3 and 4, or wait, yeah, 3 and 4 in the morning. And I just couldn't sleep. So we're gonna see how far we can get in Stardew today while sleepy. Nice that it's a Sunday. Great that it's a chill stream because I don't think I could play anything else other than a slow kind of chill game. No fast-paced game for me today, or this morning, or this afternoon, or whatever you want to call it. Good morning, hello, Brad. How are you doing? It's morning for me. Never mind. It just turned to noon. Never mind. I was gonna say for one more minute, but as I looked at the clock, it had turned.
Okay.
That clip shows up so often.
You just wanted me to ask that.
Arlo.
Alright, Arlo.
Well, he's not following me.
You
know,
know,
we
we
should have known right then and there that he couldn't go upstairs.
You know what, Arlo,
and he was not good enough for us. Thank you so much for the shout out, Brad. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. And like I said, I'm having a good Sunday. I just couldn't fall asleep, so we're gonna see how well I can power through being really sleepy. Hello, sure, thank you! I love polka dots, and it's gonna be 100 degrees today, so I was looking for something that was super cool. This is a very cool shirt, so I'm going with this as our Sunday. It's gonna be hot. I'm sleepy, I don't care. Kind of shirt. I honestly, I didn't want to say I just found this shirt. It was in my drawer, but it got pushed to the bottom, and I just kept pulling shirts out from on top of it. And I went through my drawer the other day, and I was like, "Hey, I remember that shirt. I do still have it." Yeah, best way to stay cool for sure. Yup. Today is the last day of extreme hot weather. It's not really extreme. It's supposed to be like 100, but it's the last day we're supposed to have really hot weather, and we're currently in a heat advisory, which is honestly just saying be careful. But yeah, last day, then hopefully it'll be cool from according to the weather here on out. Not cool, but not hot. So, looking forward to that. I hope that comes true because I am so done with summer. I am so done with it. I am ready for not really the fall, because fall here I don't like, but I'm ready for the cooler temps. That's what I'm ready for. I have my shirt on with tons of holes in it because it's hell out here today. Yep, that's the way to go. When it's hell outside, you just wear whatever is comfortable and whatever keeps you coolest. I know. Like I said, this one is very, very light, so it's super nice to wear. Not too heavy of a material. The leaves are all already changing and falling off the trees. Oh, was that? Well, I was gonna say, is that a good thing? But I love fall back there. Fall here is not fun. There's nothing here. Honestly, we've been having stuff falling and changing already, but it's because our trees are in such stress from the drought that they're dropping early. They're just so stressed out from the lack of water that they're already they were turning in July, honestly. Dying and everything. Not necessarily dying, but they're struggling. That means the temps are fixing to drop, which is great. That's perfect then. Yes, that's a great sign. I wish we had something here that did that like kind of told us that it was getting toward the end. Honestly, we just go by historical data. Honestly, I was reading this weather guy's report the other day on Twitter, and he's like, all right, it's mid-August, so historically that means we've got like maybe like a week more of possible, like hellish temperatures. And then after that, it should start gradually trending downward. I mean, you may get like 1 or 2 hot spells in there, but hopefully it means it's going to start trending down, and then all summer is over. I'm dying. I'm over it. But like I said, fall's not fun here because we get really bad winds, and with like the 6 fires that are going around in Northern California, that's just really bad news for them. So I'm not looking forward to that, but hopefully Maybe this year we'll get a break. Maybe this year we won't have so much wind. I don't know. That's probably not safe, but we can all hope, right? We have a ton of old-timey says, which means things all year. Yeah, I don't know of any here. Where happened to the music? There it is. We don't really have anything like that here. Or we may, and I'm just don't pay attention, which probably sounds more like it. Because I'm very unobservant. My hair is a freaking mess today. Holy crap. Oh well. Yesterday I took a shower and I did not feel like dealing with it. So I stuck it up while wet, so it's just a mess. It's just a big old clump of hair up there. Anyway. So we're gonna play Stardew. It's Stardew Sunday. If any of you guys are new here, it's what we do every Sunday. Honestly, it's just a way to chill, hang out, something that's just nice. And we don't wear it out too much by playing it every day. But I didn't feel like watching my VOD this morning. I think we're toward the end of summer. No, excuse me, end of spring. So we're just gonna get into it, play it, and see where the day takes us. Because I was too not in the mood to watch my VOD to catch myself up to see what's going on. Because I have bad memory and I don't know. I couldn't even tell you what we did on Friday in Resident Evil Village. Other than getting stuck. That's all I know. Wait, is that what we played last? Sunday, Friday, yeah, Resident Evil Village. So we'll get back to that soon. Don't know when. Maybe Friday again. I just gotta wait until see if I can edit the video down. I finished like 5 videos yesterday, so that wasn't one of them because I had other ones to fix. But yeah, we'll be getting back to Village soon if you're looking forward to that. But today we're playing this. I don't know what we're doing tomorrow. Maybe Portia, because I'm really anxious to get more done in that. The caterpillars are full, then that means a hard, cold winter. Oh, interesting. Actually, there is, and I don't remember what it is. There is one here that they used to say that, like, if the acorns here, I can't remember. Okay, I can't remember if they fall early or if it's how hard they fall. Could be both. Symbols something. I don't remember what it is. I remember where I used to work. One of the guys I worked with, big like weather guy. He loves it, and he used to be kind of our like personal weather guy. But anyway, he used to say something like, if the acorns here fall from, it's either early or hard, like if they fall harder. Which I don't know why that would be. Why would they fall harder? But I've heard that. It means something, like either the temperatures are coming or it's going to mean more rain or something like that. I haven't heard it in a while because I haven't worked with him for 3 years now. So I don't remember what it was, but I have heard where I used to work, people would always come in and say certain things like that. I just don't remember what they are because I've never really paid attention. I've never even paid attention if it's true. It's just like I forget by the time that happens. So the South has so many old sayings that they have native. Yeah, true. You probably get a lot of that. Magic, hello. How are you doing? Happy Sunday.
SK. I'm not
Thank
saying
you, Brad,
that
for giving
name.
Magic a shout out. I love that one. That one's a good one. That one, I know that's from your what you call it, raid video. My eye's bothering me today. Super smoky here today, so I'm gonna have eye problems probably. Callisto, good evening. How are you doing? How was your Sunday? I hope you're all having a great Sunday or had a great Sunday.
So we finished the first actual.
Thank you, Brad, for giving
chapter
Callisto a
yesterday.
shout out.
Yesterday about the last time.
All right, let's go play Stardew.
This thing.
Let's go play Stardew. Like I said, not sure what's going on. Let's just get into it and see what. Oh, I've got my screen up. And yeah, day 21 of spring. All right. So I was right. We were very close to the end. I don't know if we're gonna get to the end. I've never noticed when as long as we've been playing this, which is just a few months, how many days I get through in a stream. Honestly. I'm currently a bit under the weather. Weather is oppressing and causing. Oh, I'm sorry, Calissa. That's no good. I hope that you're feeling better soon. I hope everything gets better. Other than that, I'm fine. Well, I'm glad you're fine other than that, but I do hope that you feel better soon. I understand, though. I understand. We're not having weather. We just got a lot of smoke cover today from the fires, and that sometimes can cause me to have like really bad sinus issues and or headaches or eye problems. But luckily, it hasn't affected me yet today. Thankfully, yesterday we had a pretty clear day. We actually saw blue sky yesterday, which was amazing. I forgot what blue skies look like. But I'm thinking that because we had that one day where I could clear out my sinuses and then smell fresh air, that's good. But today it's super, super smoky for some reason. I don't know why exactly. But because of that, I'm going to lay back and lurk. No worries. Relax, hang out, chill, Callisto, take care of yourself. We all understand. Enjoy your lurk and have a nice, relaxing rest of your Sunday. And all of you stay safe with that. What's going on? Yes, thank you. Yes, trying, and you enjoy your lurk and relax. Oh, hey, Maddie's in the screen for you guys. Damn it, Scarlett, we went over this. Fire is a weather out there. It is a weather! It is! It's a weather! And today is just a bad weather day. Like I said, it's super smoky. If I can't really show you guys because it wouldn't show on camera, but you can kind of see behind me that it's a lot darker than it usually is because the sun is not shining. The sun is not there today. If it is, you could look at the sun right now and see it without straining your eyes because it's so covered. Greetings. Greetings. It is I, the Queen of Sauce, here to teach you a new mouth-watering recipe from my secret cookbook. This week's dish, complete breakfast. Bacon and eggs. Last week I taught you how to make hash browns. This week I'll show you how to combine them with better or other ingredients to create a hearty, complete breakfast. This meal will really fill you up and give you the energy you need to get in a hard day's work. I can't read today. That's how tired I am too. I learned how to cook a complete breakfast. Yay! Oh, excuse me. Yay! Okay, cool. Oh, I guess I should look at this. My brain, like, are you ever so tired that your brain just feels tired? That's how I feel today. I've had my cup of coffee, so hopefully that'll kick in here soon. I think I'll have a little bit extra luck. Wait, you're making breakfast? I'm going to try. Actually, really quick, though. I want to make more foods, but I also... I can make a fried egg. But I also don't have half these ingredients. And I'd rather do other things first. I feel like that'll be something later on in the story. Alright, what's going on? I found this recipe in a magazine and I thought it sounded interesting. Feel free to give me a taste if you make it. A strange bun. Okay. I ordered too much fertilizer for the garden. I bet you can put it to some... I can't read! Put it to some good use. Take care, Jody. Thank you, Jody. Oh my gosh. All this mail. Notice. Pierre here. I really, really want a plate of sashimi. I'll pay top coin to whoever brings me some. Okay, I can try making sashimi. Sashimi! Alright, let's go see what's going on in our garden down here. Oh, those aren't done yet. Are these done? It's not that. Nope, not done. Watered, 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 watered. Oh, everything's watered. Alright, that's the way to start the day. Excuse me. My voice doesn't even want to work. My voice is even sleeping. Hello! Muckers! As long as I've had you, I still can't remember your name. I keep getting it mixed up with our other one that we started with, whose name was, I think, Tuffy. Rose! What's this? You want some sashimi? Okay. Didn't we plant something over here? In our secret garden. Oh yeah, strawberries. Woo woo! Look at all these strawberries I just got. I should put a... Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Gosh dang it. Yeah, it's not what I wanted to do at all. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, I need to put like a sprinkler over here. Because what we're gonna do is in time, or not in time, but right when summer starts, we're gonna plant our trees over here. I don't remember what trees we have, but I know we have trees. That's all I remember. And it's day 21, so I mistitled this. I don't know if we're gonna get through the end of spring. Like I said, I've never really not understood. I never really have paid attention how many days we get through. Inventory's full. What? Oh, I picked up a lot of crap. Yeah. Hops. We had hops over there at one point. Yeah. I heard you. Where are you? Oops. How's the famous man today? She's doing good. She's walking right under me right now. Well, there's our cat. She's deciding if she wants to get something to eat, I think. Oh, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. But she's right here on the side of me right now. Do I have any strawberries? I should. Do I have beans in 2 spots? Get out of here! Oh, no, it's not beans. Okay. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. I do! Look at all these strawberries I have. Okay. Alright, let's sell those. Brain. Please work. Oh, wait a minute. I put my fertilizer in there? Sure. Why not? Oh, while we're here, we have an orange and a peach tree. I think those are the only 2 summer trees. I'm not positive, but I think so. Oh my gosh. Denny, hello! How are you doing? Stupid trees got in my way. How was your Sunday? Hope everything has been going well for you. Sorry if I sound like I'm out of it. I'm really tired. Alright, let's get rid of this. Yeah, here. What time is it? Oh, it's already 11 o'clock. It's already 11 o'clock and I've done nothing with my day. Alright, we might have to make one more bin, too. Because not these. Because these are all full. Well, technically that one's not full, but that one's something else. So, I have 171 woods. So let's just make a bin just to get it over with. Let's just get it over with because I've been putting it off for far too long. Oh, no, that's right. That's a different color, right? Try and make them all different colors, but sometimes I don't. It's been okay. Not been in the best headspace the past few days. Oh, I'm sorry, Denny. I'm sorry. I hope everything gets better for you, though. I understand. I've been there. Don't ask. Don't ask. I'm tired. I'm acting stupid. Nothing over here. But yes, I hope everything gets better for you, Denny. I understand. I know. Every once in a while, you know what? What's going on? You just have those few days or weeks even sometimes where you're just not always in the best of headspaces, and I know. Everyone deals with it differently, but sometimes you just gotta take some days to yourself and everything. Okay guys, do you remember your lines? What's going on? What's happening here? Why am I intruding? Yes! Oh no, Clint's a little nervous. Ready? Action! I thought we had something special. I guess I was wrong. Cut. I should have yelled that. Cut! I'm sorry. I can't do this. It's hard to remember my lines when her face is right in front of me like that. Yo! Emily, get your face out of my face. Actually, was Emily the one he liked? There was one of the characters Clint kind of liked, I think. Oh, hey! Oh, I'm on camera. Check out my new camera. Jojaco is having a video advertisement competition. The prize is 10,000 G's. I mean, I'm gonna win. Hey, I want you to be in the shot, okay? Sure. Just walk by Clint and Emily in the background while they're talking. It'll give the scene a little more authenticity. Oh, I get to be on camera! Did you see that excitement? Alright, tell me when to go. I can't mess this up, right? Okay, ready? Action! I don't want to yell too loud. Everyone in the whole house will be like, what the hell is she doing? I thought we had something special. You said you wouldn't leave me for anything. I guess that was a lie. Mind if I just pass through? I don't know why that seems awkward, but okay. No, it's not like that. This is just something I have to do. It's very important to me. I must go. I've just got to try new Joja Blue Cola. Alright. Thank you, I hope so too. I just wanted to pass. It'll pass. Don't worry, Denny. We're all here for you if you need us. We're all here for you if you ever need any of us. Greasy food is always puts a smile on people's faces. It's got 3 times the sorbitol. What sorbitol? For a thick, sweet blast, and it's cheaper than water. No, water's better. But isn't soda unhealthy? You promised me. Have no fear, my dear. The world-class science team at Joja headquarters have determined that Joja Blue does not cause a significant erosion of the stomach lining. So you may drink it whenever you like, as much as you like. The real question is, when will you turn blue? Glug, 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 glug. I was gonna say glug. Glug, glug. Ah. Cut! How'd I do? Was my walking by good? I tried really hard not to trip. That was perfect. And your walking was magnificent. Thanks for the help. You're welcome. I did what I do best. Nothing. Clint? Clint turned blue. It's like Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. Is it, what, Violet? Started Violet! Sure, maybe, probably no, but it'll make you feel, yeah, you know, sometimes, sometimes, all you need is just some good old comfort food, even if you're on a diet. But yes, it's hard not to, you shouldn't break that diet, though, because I know your diet is for health, so. All it needs is less carbs and more fats. We'll manage. We'll manage to do that. For sure. For sure. Alright. Should I go check on Clint? I mean, he was turning blue. I don't think that was a good Mayor. I want to read that. I've been in town for over 20 years. Yeah, I know. You suck. I'm not even gonna read your thing. You suck. I'm leaving. You're in my way. Mayor, I haven't had a lot of sleep. I can get grumpy very fast. Ooh, I found a fried egg. Oh, I forgot to look up to see how to make sashimi. Oh, it's a nice day, isn't it? Sure. I'm putting out a promotion and clicked 100 pieces of stone. No. 50. I'm not really going to the caves. No. Alright, bye. Brad. Okay. The cherry blossom petals falling are so pretty. Freaky glove cherry blossom petals. Can't tell by my transition. Am I supposed to be doing anything? Not really. We're just kind of collecting stuff right now. Money, too. I'm pretty sure... Ugh. I'm pretty sure I don't have to bait in these now. So, I think that's what happened last stream. I think I collected the thing that said no bait and traps. Let's go. I need to go buy something from Marnie. Let's go do that. Our day's almost over and I've done nothing. I should go check on Clint. You know what? Oops, that's not a way to get out of here. As long as I've played this, you think I would know where to go and I still get lost. Thank you, Mayor, for moving. We're not gonna finish spring today. Never mind. I probably don't get through a week in a stream. We got a while, too, till Pierre's birthday. Oh, I was gonna check on Clint. I thought he might be there. Alright, let's go. Oh, I missed Marnie, too, didn't I? Right. Rap. Alright, fine. Yeah, there she goes. Bye, Marnie! Let's go down here and see if there's any, onions? Is that what's down here? Onions? Yeah, no, leeks. Wait. No, onions. Oh, can I not chop this down? Where'd that? Never mind. Stupid inventory! If anything is a staple of my channel, it's, oh my god, my inventory is full. Any game I play, that is the one thing I say the most. Oh my god, my inventory is full. Fine, I'll go home. I don't think I really need that horseradish anyways. I think I don't know where I'm going. I think I have enough, but money! I need money. I don't know what we're going for next either. I don't know what we're raising money for other than I know we're still trying for a stable. I know we're still trying for bigger barns because I would like different animals. Maybe just some money for summer stuff. Also, I'm supposed to put my beehive next to things that are like something like flowers or something, and you get different kind of honeys. I didn't realize that, and I haven't been doing that. Where's my complete? Oh, my complete food's inside. Okay, let's go. Wait, first gotta get rid of this stuff. So let's go see what it takes to make a sashimi. Oh. Oh, should we progress with Abigail today? I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to settle down with somebody yet. Oof. Darkness. Can I make sashimi? Is there a way to find out faster than looking through this? Strange bun. Wheat flour, periwinkle, void mayonnaise. Chocolate cake. Tortilla. Oh, sashimi. Any fish. I could do that. Excuse me. I kind of figured it was fish, but I thought there might be another item. Any fish. You know what? Instead of taking one from our inventory, let's do just a little bit of fishing, and then we'll get a fish, and we'll get a fish for that. I tried to make some comfort baking, but I messed up, and it became a huge clump of, whoops, cocoa powder with a few other ingredients. I'm there like shit, right? I hate when that happens when you're trying to make something like a comfort food, and then it just comes out like a clump of crap. Been there, done that lots of times, because I'm a big baker, and it happens a lot. And then it kind of ruins everything. You're just trying to make something. Look at this big giant. That's not what I wanted to do. Oh my god, it keeps bouncing off that. This thing is now too big. That's too big now. Ooh, yes. Yeah, nothing is more disappointing than when you're trying to make something like that and it comes out crap. That makes everything more worse. Especially when you're really looking forward to it. I need to bake something. I don't know what, but I need to bake something. It's hard to bake in the summertime because I just don't want to turn on our oven. That's why that recipe you gave me, Jenny, was perfect. I made it, I stuck it in the fridge, and it was done. And I had a blast doing it because I really like to bake. Even though that wasn't really baking, that was stirring a bunch of ingredients together. But close enough! Oh, I swear I saw the exclamation point. I'm losing it. I lost my catfish. I just remembered. My god, I got nothing. I just remembered we lost our catfish last stream. I don't remember what we need to get the catfish. I don't remember. Does it need to be raining? I don't remember. But anyways, we lost our catfish. Yes, I can sell this. Alright, who wanted sashimi? I mean, I'll have to do it in the morning, but... somebody requested it. Let me go to the bed real quick before game times me out and I'm not in bed. I don't know what I was thinking. I just scooped in cocoa powder like it was nobody's business. You know? Cocoa powder is amazing. But yeah, sometimes too much is not good. So one day I'll taste all y'all's bacon. I don't know why I said all y'all's, but yeah. They were so good. I was trying to make something similar. They were so good. We almost, I think there's like one little piece left in our fridge that we have not eaten. But it went over well in our house. Hello, Mom. How's it going? I heard you getting up. How was your sleeps? Did you sleep well? All right, time for a snap cam. Okay, how much money did I make? Snap. I made 1,600 today. That's not a lot, but it's enough. All right, let's just leave it on the screen for a sec while we go and pick a snap key up. My nose. My nose. Had some last night, loved it. I figured somebody did because I saw the container on the counter this morning. And then I moved it in the little leftover in the fridge to get what I needed out this morning. What am I doing? I can't even figure out how to turn my camera off. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Wait, hold up. When I do that, it doesn't work right. Okay. Snap cam. Snap cam. I think I found a new one. But let me just stick this one on for 2 seconds. And then let me go see, because I can't remember. I was playing around with Snapcam the other night, so see if we can find something new. Mom, do you want to see any special cam? Because Brad asked if you wanted to see something. Oh, don't mind me as I stretch and yawn. But you guys want to see anything specific or just something rando? Let me see if let me look through my favorites here and see if I see one. I feel like I did put a new one, but I might not have saved it. I might just put it on. I didn't. I didn't put a new one on. I must have just been playing around and didn't find one. Nothing specific. How about we be the pepper? Because you missed the pepper last time. How about we be the pepper again? Oh, they don't have one. What kind of vegetables do they have? We're doing farming. Man, the search on this thing kind of sucks. I've been vegetable, nothing really comes up. All right, how about a hot pepper? It's been a couple streams since we've done a hot pepper, and I remember Mom missed the hot pepper last time, so let's do that. Oh, hey Siri. Set a timer for 15 minutes. I didn't remember. I mean, I didn't forget to do that either. Sound good? Alright, sounds good. We'll do the pepper then. Yes! It's raining, which means I don't have to go and water. Living off the land. Here's a tip for you adventurers out there. Don't forget your weapon's special attacks. Sword can block incoming attacks, which is very useful when slimes are jumping at you. Clubs can pound the ground, sending enemies flying. And with a dagger, you can perform a super quick triple strike attack. Be safe. The only problem with that is any game I play, I am not good at blocking attacks. No matter what I'm playing, I don't do well at blocking attacks. I need to like work on that. But I use the club the most so I can pound the ground. I've never really done that though. Spirits are very happy today. You know, we should probably go in the caves today. Actually, we've got to go to see Clint. Sorry, not yet. Because we have some geodes. Good morning, muckers. I also gotta go see Marnie. Because... I'm running low on wheats. Or hay, I guess, not wheat. None of this should be done over here. As a chili pepper, I expect a song. What kind of song? Like a Red Hot Chili Pepper song? I don't even know if I could sing one of their songs because I wouldn't really know any of their songs by heart. Well, actually, that's not true. I would know quite a few. But my brain is so tired I can't think of it right now. I can think of Danny California and Californication, but I can't think of how the lyrics go. That's how tired I am. Oh, who wanted the sashimi? Here, okay. That's not what I wanted. I should put my, gosh dang it, I should put my milk and my eggs in the same bed, but it's a whatever. What time does Marnie open? 8? 9? Nonetheless, we're going that way and seeing if she's even gonna be there. Half the time we get to Marnie and she's like, nah, I'm making a breakfast burrito, leave me alone. Another time that I will save up for a song. Like I said, I would sing actually one of those two I just mentioned, but I just cannot think of how the lyrics go. 9. 9. 9. Bum, ba, ba, ba. It's time to party. That's like about the. I don't think that's the words. Is that how it goes? In the city. Something after that. I don't know that song good enough to be singing it. Wait, so tired. I just could not fall asleep last night. I just couldn't. I don't know why. It was like 3 a.m. and I was wide awake. I was watching someone on Twitch, and then I was like, all right, I need to stop watching. I gotta go to bed. And it was like maybe 1:30. And then I'm like laying there just wide awake. I was like, I should just turn them back on. I cannot fall asleep. I don't know if it's I got too much sleep the night before. Which I don't think that's the case, because that's never the case. Yeah, I stayed up all night Boy, what the heck? Oh, Shane! That was me last night, right there, that guy. No, not really. I was in bed. I was in bed at like, always, like midnight. Sounds like me. Like I said, I don't know why. Usually I can fall asleep, but I couldn't last night. Scarlet? Drunk out here again. Oh, Shane. I'm sorry. My life! A pathetic joke. Oh, Shane makes me so sad. Look at me. Why do I even try? I'm too small and stupid to take control of my life. I'm just a piece of soiled garbage flittering in the wind. Blurp. No, Shane, don't say that! We love you! I've been coming here often lately, looking down. Here's a chance to finally take control of my life. These cliffs. No! But I'm just too scared, too anxious, just like always. We love you! No! All I do is work, sleep, and drink. To dull the feelings of self-hatred. Why should I even go on? Tell me why I shouldn't roll off this cliff right now, because we love you, I just said. We love you, Shade, and we will take care of you. Because there's so much to live for. Jas needs you. You're like a father to her. It would be a sin. The decision is your own. Just know that I'm here for you. No. No. I kind of want to say the one with Jas because that one I think will hit him harder. I think that would hit him hard. Man, we're having like a really very sensitive heart-to-heart moment here, and I'm a chili pepper. Why is it every time that we have these moments in games, I'm always like a chili pepper or something? Last time I was a coconut. She got too drunk? I did not. He needs help. He desperately needs help. And we're here for him. I always liked Shade. I really did always like him. Jas needs you. We're gonna say that one because I like that one better. I think that will hit him a little bit harder. You're right, Jas. Oh god, I'm a horrible, selfish person. Now I feel even worse. Oh, that's not what that was supposed to be. That was supposed to be Jas needs you. Pull it together. And it's raining too. It makes the scene even more dramatic. I think you should take me to the hospital now. I'm not that strong. Can I run to town and just get Pierre? Oh, Pierre. I pumped his stomach and rehydrated his body. He's going to be okay. It's good that you brought him in, though. It's because we really do love him, not in a romantic way, but love him as a friend. Much alcohol is terrible for the body, but right now, I am most worried about his mental health. When he comes to, I'll have a chat with him about his treatment options. I know an excellent counselor in Zuzu City. Life can be painful sometimes. True. But there's always hope for a better future. You've got to believe in that. Snap! That was like, what is this game? What is this game? That made me sad. I don't want to play no more. That hit hard. And why it hits so hard is you know that there are a lot of people out there who are just like that. And I hate to see it. Life can really throw you some curveballs sometimes and really get you down. And all you need, or not all you need, but one thing you need is your friends. And that's what we need to be to Shade right now. We need to be his friend. We need to pull him out of this. Even if we are a little red hot pepper right now. Alright, now the game has thrown me through an emotional curveball. Now I need to figure out what to do. Stuck. Alright, anyway. Can we go visit him? Oh, I gotta go get Pierre, this sashimi. Can we go visit Shane in the hospital, or is he technically gonna be, like, already shipped off to the counselor? Or not shipped off, but seen the counselor. Let's go look. What is our relationship like with him, by the way, just out of curiosity? Pretty good, pretty good. Is that why those things trigger? Is because you're in a good relationship, technically, with him? Oh, what? Wait, what? Clinic hours 9 to 3. It's 1. Oh! My God, I was reading the sign. Oh, you're already gone? What's up here? Oh. Harvey looks too busy right now. What's he doing? Listening into aliens? Well, alright. Shane's already gone. I was gonna try and give him for farm fresh cauliflower. I might have that. I'll try. I was gonna go give him like a hug. He needs a hug. Abigail! Did you hear about Shane, Abigail? That looks more interesting in the rain, don't you think? Yes, but did you hear about Shane? He needs our help. Me and you, purple power, we'll get it. We'll get him through this. There we go, purple power. Most people stay indoors on days like this. It's not good for business. Alright. Right, that's not what I want. Pierre. Pierre wants sashimi. I know all about that. About time I was trying to get the shakes. I wanted the fish so bad. Oh, that's good, thank you. How much is this? Not enough for me. Alright, anyway, bye. Abigail! My day has been ruined. I'm not digging in the trash. No, what are you talking about? She came around that corner so fast. Oh. I need to go over here. Don't ask. Anyway. Are you okay, Clint? You were blue last time we saw you, so... Everyone in Stardew is having a really rough couple days. Okay. Thanks, Clint. Hope you're doing better too. Hopefully I have enough inventory space to go pick up my stuff. Not really sure. I only have 3 with 4 bins. Hopefully we get a duplicate item. Never mind. I'm gonna pick up this. And this. Oops, sorry. It's raining outside and the sun is out. What does that mean by old timer saying? I remember you saying once and I don't remember. Stop! Okay, we'll come back for those. Maybe. Oh wow, that was 15 minutes already? I remember. I remember us talking about it once. That it's gonna do it at the same time tomorrow? Gonna raid tomorrow at the same time. Oh, I got it! I got it right before I read chat. And snap. I got that right before I read chat. I was gonna say, I almost said something like, that a thunderstorm is coming, but I was like, no, 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 that's not it. This is not good weather for sports. Right? I'm sorry, Pam! I shouldn't be holding that. Howdy, kids. Staying dry? Does it look like I'm staying dry? I do! It's only now if my brain would retain information is the next step. We were talking about that earlier, Mom, how, for instance, like, not old sayings, but, like, do you remember the saying around here that, like, if the acorns fall early, it's gonna be, like, an early, or a late summer, or an early fall, or something like that? Do you remember that saying? Or am I just, like, totally making that up? Oh, oh, wait. Ah, no, it started raining on her again. Not good. Not good. Oh, the timer went off and I got distracted. Alright, let me put all this away and then we'll switch back our camera. Yes, we need that. Why? Why do I keep pushing that? It's my horseradish. Alright, you know what we'll do? Oh, it's getting late. Did I ever pick up my mushrooms? Was that one of them, Mom? I don't remember any. We were talking about it earlier in stream, and I did pick those up. I don't really remember any of them. I just remember something about the acorns. I was talking about that earlier, and I don't remember what it meant. Oh, I didn't check my onion. Yeah, it's whatever. You know what? Let's not go pick up those things down there. Let's fish. Because I feel like it was raining and catfish. And I need to get my catfish back. Oh, I gotta look to see if I got cauliflower, too. So they say when the moth's nest is super thick and full, we will have a bad winter and you'll see these all over in the trees. I should have gone for that and I wasn't really paying attention. I think it's if we have a lot of acorns, it's a good winter. Is that what it was? I thought it was something with if they fall early. I just couldn't remember. I thought it was either early or, like, when they start really falling, like, a lot harder, too. 'Cause sometimes around here when the acorns start falling, oh my god, they'll fall on your house, and it sounds like a meteor coming through. Can't get those ones at the top. I'm catching is the same thing. Nom cauliflower. I love cauliflower. We had cauliflower the other night. It was so nummy. It was actually a mixed vegetable. It was cauliflower, carrots, and broccoli. I love that. I used to not like actually, I shouldn't say I never not liked cauliflower, but I never used to care for it that much. But then again, when I was younger, I also used to hate vegetables. I don't know how I survived as a child, honestly. I don't know. I didn't like a lot of things. I was a very, 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 very picky eater as a child. I don't know how I survived. I think my brother's even said that before. He goes, how did you get the nutrients you needed by the way you used to eat as a kid? I'll take my snap cam filter off as soon as the day is done. We'll get to be a little hot pepper for a little bit longer. My mom makes a really good like cauliflower, why? Bake thing? I don't know exactly what it is, but it's good. Some kind of oven baked cauliflower. Alright, I've got one more spot left. You hate celery? Oh no, I love celery. Whoops. Celery is good. Especially with peanut butter. Oh, yum. Yeah, I did eat that way because of my grandfather. That's true. Me and my brother were polar opposites because of the sides of the family, whoa, we were raised on. Yes! I got the catfish! I had a feeling that was gonna be a catfish with, okay, you know what? I ain't accidentally putting it in there. But me and my brother are like polar opposites when it came to how we were raised in the way of like eating foods. My brother was raised in like a healthy side of the family. I was raised on the not so healthy part of the family. So it's just the way it is, but I eat a lot of things better now. When we used to take them end of school year tests, we had to eat celery and pimento cheese and would starve. Ugh, that doesn't sound good, the cheese. I've never had that kind, but that doesn't even sound that good. There's really a delicious cauliflower mix you can do with boiled cauliflower, cream cheese, and a little bit of melted butter that you mix all together in a mixer, and it becomes a healthier version of mashed potatoes. Snap! That sounds nummy! I like cauliflower, and I've been, I actually have a recipe that I haven't made it yet, that was like a cauliflower bake thing. That had, it was like cauliflower, no, never mind. But yeah, I was trying to make it, I can't remember exactly what it was, but the base of it was cauliflower instead of, like, dough, I think, or something. But cauliflower, cream cheese, and butter? Holy crap, that sounds amazing. I love all those things. I'm gonna have to look that up. I love mashed potatoes. Where'd that go? Never mind. But I always like to change things up. I always like to have a lot of different things, just to have a good variety of different foods. Was that in here and I just didn't see it? Yes. Alright, we can sell everything but the catfish. Oh, why do I have to get a good quality catfish? Not a catfish. Okay. I did it. I did it. I didn't sell the catfish. Because I love mashed potatoes. But making like a cauliflower thing that would be similar, I think would be really yummy. Because like I said, I like to mix things up. I like to try different things. Because I don't like... It's kind of like my gaming. If I eat the same thing too many times, I'm going to get really tired of it and not really want it. And like gaming, I don't want to play a game over and over again. And then I just get bored of it real fast. So doing that would be a good idea. Talking about my garlic cauliflower, we had broccoli crust pizza. What I was thinking about a few minutes ago was the thing we had the other day called Zucchini Pizza, where the crust was zucchini mixed with like flour and butter or something, I think. And then it was topped with pepperoni and cheese. That's what I was thinking, but just a second ago. But I don't remember with the broccoli pizza crust. I don't remember that. But yeah, I think it's your garlic cauliflower I'm thinking of. My mom also makes a really good, both potatoes as mashed and this really good potato recipe that's like cut up, mixed with like French onion soup and something else, and then you bake it. Like French onion soup, garlic, and butter, and you put it in the... You mix it together, let it set for a while, it can soak in, put it in the oven, fry it for, I don't know, half hour. So good! Yeah, it was zucchini. It was called Zucchini Pizza. It was zucchini, flour, butter, probably like milk or something, mixed together, put it in the oven to make the crust, and then pull it out, top it with tomatoes, pepperoni, and cheese. And that was all it was. It was so yummy. I like my other potatoes better. I like both of them. I have no personal preference. Your mashed potatoes, freaking amazing. But also those baked potatoes too are super yummy. I'm trying to change the camera and I got distracted. Alright, let's close out that camera. Turn it off. Turn this one back on. Oh, I almost X'd out of OBS for some reason. That sounds good. I'll have to post some of these recipes in the Discord because they're really good. They're really good, like healthy. Well, the one potato one's probably not that healthy, but it's still good. I don't care. It's still really good. That's what we do. We talk food here. We make everybody hungry. Univice Moon, hello. I hope you're all good and having fun. I hope you're doing well too. Hello, how you doing? I'm doing pretty good. Still sleepy, but I'm starting to wake up a little bit more. But I hope you're doing well. We're just here talking food. It's what we do. Halfway through, it's not even halfway through stream yet. Halfway through stream, we sit here, talk food. Give each other stomach pains because we get really hungry. Oh, I forgot to collect my $1,000 from that. I need to go see if we all started talking about cauliflower because I have to go find and see if I've got one for Leah. Need more coffee? I still have some. I haven't quite finished it. It's starting to kick in though. I'm starting to wake up more. You're gonna have to invite me over to let Mama cook for me. Honestly, my mom would say she's a bad cook, but she's not. I'll have a little bit of extra luck today. Don't let her fool you if she says that. Shane! Hi! Are you doing better? Are you feeling better? I'm here for you. How do I say this? I'm really sorry about what happened at the cliffs. That was embarrassing. No, don't be embarrassed about it. I'm glad I was there to help. You need a serious wake-up call. I'm just happy you're still here. No, I'm glad I was there to help you. Yeah, me too. I've decided I want to see a therapist. Harvey got me in touch with a colleague of his. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you for taking care of me, and I want you to know that I'm going to take things a little more serious from now on. I don't want to be a burden on anyone. Oh, never, never. We are here for you, Shane. We love you. I am so happy you're gonna get help. And if you need us, we will be right here in our home like we always are. Isn't he made, Mom? Because when I got like the last cup. But I will let you know if I need more. I do still have some. But thank you. But first, see if some was made because there wasn't any there when I took the last cup almost. I'm really glad you become part of our community. I've enclosed a $500 check from the Stardew Valley Agricultural Fund to help you continue your good work. Maybe you can buy some seeds with it. Sincerely, Monsieur Lewis. Dear Scarlett, tomorrow we're getting together for the flower dance. Oh, no, not the flower dance. If you can find a partner, you might even want to participate in the dance yourself. There's a little clearing beyond the forest west of town. Here is where blah blah blah. We hold the dance. Yeah, anyways. Arrive between 9 and 2 if you're interested. We have Abigail now. And even honestly, I think probably Shane would even dance with us. Not done yet? Not done? Not done? Okay. I'm stuck. Okay, first off, or not first off, but we need to go put this catfish away before I accidentally sell it again. Oh, good morning, Manny. I missed. Sorry, I missed your bowl. My button, no wonder it wasn't working. I think it's making it. Okay, good. Good. Yeah, I didn't take the last cup. There was still some left before I took it. I shouldn't say that. Because if I said I took the last cup and I didn't make any, it sounds like I was being stupid. I didn't take the last cup. I took almost the last cup. All right. Let's water. Alright, I am gonna try my hardest to get to the caves today because it's been a long time since we've been in there. Every time I try and go, we end up getting busy. I gotta cut some of these trees down so I can get through there too. Good morning, muckers. And Rose! Oh, my inventory's full. Well, that's the thing. Alright, Rose, I'll be back to milk you. Your girl's inventory is full yet again. If my inventory wasn't full, I'd actually be very ashamed of myself. Where's my beans? Or coffee beans, not beans. Fudge. There they are. Or no, that's not what I was looking for. But there's those. There they are. That's what I was looking for. Okay, we got 50 beans. I think that's probably enough. Let's go drop these off. Go get our milk. Go talk to Clint. And we're gonna have a busy day again. I almost clicked that. Busy, busy on the farm. Ooh, yes. We had really good patty melts last night. And we'll have really good spaghetti tonight, probably. Every time, by the time I get over to the... I should just not pick that stuff up. I don't really need it. But, I mean... Ooh, wait. But, I like to hoard everything, so... Saw nothing. I should go down there and pick up my stuff. I'm not going to. Okay. Oh, okay. Lemon stone. Tiger's eye. Now my inventory's full. No! Actually, I gotta drop off quite a bit at Gunther's down here, so. Oh, fish. I'll be back. I'll be back. I want spaghetti. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there no substitute for spaghetti? You could have, I don't know if that would be good though. Zucchini noodle spaghetti? Would that be good? I don't know if that'd be good. Because I have always heard like a substitute for spaghetti is good zucchini. But I'm not sure I've ever heard of it in like an actual spaghetti. Alright, look at all this. Ugh. Look at all this stuff we've got. Put these over here. Yes. Oh, hard done. I thought I saw something. I said I could do that. I just might. I was thinking, that's what I was thinking. If you had zucchini noodles, spaghetti sauce might not go with that very well. A long time ago, I made something that was called like zucchini... I don't remember its official name, but it was zucchini noodles and then it had sriracha sauce in it. But I don't remember anything else about it. Like, I don't remember... Oops. I don't remember, No! Frickin' inventory's full! What is this? Fudge, I'll be back. But yeah, I just don't remember anything about it. All I remember it was zucchini noodles and sriracha sauce, because I love sriracha sauce. And I think I only made it once, because I had screwed it up and it wasn't as good. But I kind of want to try it again. Because I had bought like that special tool where you can take vegetables and then make them into noodles. It's the only reason I really remember it, because I had bought a special tool for it. Or special appliance, I should say, not tool. I still didn't go and drop off the catfish. Gosh dang it. Did I? Yeah, I did. Never mind. Sardine, herring. Where's my clay? Oh, there it is. I have 10 already. Okay. Gosh. Oh, that was my second tool. Yeah, we'll keep it. There is, I can make my own kind of pasta. I'm just lazy. It takes a while to do. Making pasta, I would imagine any kind of pasta, doesn't matter what kind it is, it takes a long time. We used to make fresh pasta because we used to have a pasta machine. It was so good. It just takes a long time to make, and it's like, yeah, it's okay, I don't want that bad. Pasta is a rough one. That's where I'm going. Drop off the catfish. That is where I'm going, just in case, because I have almost sold it like 3 times now. That is where we're going. I just took the long way. Because I am not going to do that again. Alright, here we are. We're finally at the community center. Dropping off the catfish. This game made me rage quit last time because I accidentally sold it. Which one's it in now? Yes! Glittering a boulder removed. And, oh my gosh, we got 30 more baits. What I need to do is I need to figure out how to use bait on a fishing pole. I haven't quite figured that out. It seems like I tried it. Every time I tried to like attach it, I was doing something wrong. And I just kind of gave up and never really care that much. Bye-bye! Alright, well, to see if it gets in the morning, will that glittering... I don't even know what that is. Will that glittering boulder move? Okay, maybe... No, tomorrow we got the dance thing. Oh my god. George! How are you? Looks like another gloomy day. I love gloomy days. I love gloomy days as long as it means there's rain in the forecast. I love them. Alright, let's go pick up the stuff. Sweet friction of pen and paper is the music of my soul. Oh, that's why I chose this beach as my home, so I could have peace and quiet to do my work. Yes. Whatever you say. Oh good, this didn't disappear. What's a dried starfish? Oh, it's an artifact. Okay, it's not actually a fish. Grab that. Is there anything up here? Nope. I was thinking the same thing. It's gloomy here today, but it's gloomy because there's so much smoke today. Gosh dang it. That's not the kind of gloom I like. However, what I do like about it is it's supposed to be like a freaking 100 degrees here today, and hopefully with the smoke cover, it'll keep the temperature down by like 5 degrees. It's not good for our lungs. I ain't going outside, so it's okay. But the nice smoke cover will help keep the sun rays from beating down on us as much, so that's the only positive. And it also helps moderate fire behavior, so that's always a positive too. Maybe, but it's 96. It's supposed to be 100. So far, we're 4 degrees away from it, so that's good. Actually, is it really 100? Or, I mean, 96? The computer is always... My computer seems like it's always a lot hotter than it is. It says it's a lot hotter than it is. I really want to go to the caves. Alright, let's... Can I... Ooh! Why don't I do this more often? I keep forgetting this is a thing. Oh, hey, look. That we can use this now. Let's go hang out in the caves for just a little bit. Oh, yeah. There's that guy, and I don't know what to do about him. Alright, I got rid of him. Never mind. Oh! Door's open. Ah, gosh, I'm having the hardest time hitting things. This on the ground. Ah, there we go. That's how I do it. Ow! Oh, piece of work. Got him right before he attacked me. What's this? What a little piece. Ow, I should have done that right before I did it. Got him. What are you? Inventory's full! Well, that's a thing. Oh! I'm gonna die! 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 No, I'm not! I'm gonna die! Whew. That was close. When I just realized my health was down and I didn't have time to eat. It's 11 o'clock. I should be getting home anyway. Lava burgers and onion rings. Yum! The word burger was in there. That's all I need. Oops, sorry. Oh, wait. Bus stop. Well, okay, that wasn't exactly success. I stuck on. That wasn't exactly successful, but it wasn't also a mess. Never mind. Oops, sorry. Pretty sure I can sell the slime. Ooh, crack. Where's my rubies? Do I even have rubies? I might not. Wait a minute. Why have that in 2 spots? Nope, that one is my stuff. No, I don't. I'm just being dumb. Is that literally my first ruby? Oh, sorry. It is! Oh my gosh! Oh, it's getting late. Okay, fine. Game. Everything else I need to go sell. Okay, I could have drank that Jojo Cola too. Yeah, it was cheese, burger, all of that. All of that makes me like drool. So good. I love lots of cheese. Alright, Manny, I'm super sleepy. Alright, what time did that start? 9 AM? So, I'll have to go check out that glittering block thing later. I don't remember exactly where it is. They're annoyed. Well, that's good. I'm not going to go anywhere today. Honey. Not done yet. Did I? Yeah, I did. Did I ever go back and get her milk? I'm pretty sure I did. Oh, excuse me. I don't know why I do that. That's weird. Hell yeah. I got a couple hours. Hey, I can sell my egg. Where's my honey? Never mind. Alright, so on our way, I can't remember exactly where this thing is. It told me a minute ago and I don't remember what it said, but I think it'll tell me again. But I think it's like down by where the wizard lives. I'll just keep everything else on me. I don't think it's a big deal. If I have all this stuff on me, I don't think I'll need inventory space for today. Ooh, our parsnips are done. Yes. Hopefully we got some good. Oops. Hopefully we got some good quality ones. Oh no! I only got 1 gold star. I don't think we have enough time. Can I? I don't think I have enough time. I gotta go around. I don't think I have enough time to get more gold star ones. I was trying to get to the gold star ones before spring ended. I saw that the dance started. Let me see. That only got me to 2. Well, poo! I bought even good fertilizer for that. Oh well, it's whatever. We'll get there in time. Alright, let's go. Did that say where this was? Oh, you guys! I forgot about the cauliflower. I could go back and start it again, but I forgot to see if we had cauliflower for Leah. Oh well. We got all talking about cauliflower and I still forgot. See if I can find this dance. Oh, never mind, I found it. Hello, everybody! Do you have anything for me? I want to collect all the rare crows. It's only $2,500. I'll do it because I want to collect them all. Plus, I kind of need another one, so. Whoa, I'm stuck. Hey, have you just tried the red jelly yet? I don't know if I want to talk to everybody here like we normally do. If Emily would dance with me. You don't turn blue again, maybe. I wish Pierre would spend his time with his family. Spend this time with his family. Where is he? Oh, he's working the shop. This open field, it makes me nervous. Is that because... Oh, Shane! Is that because he was like in the war or something? Excellent sloss! 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 Excellent sloss. Glad to see you here. I wore my best shirt for the dance. This sort of thing doesn't happen very often. Okay. Now this is the life, huh, kid? Sweet wine, a babbling brook, warm air. Did I mention wine? Sure, that's great. I really hate dancing in front of everyone. It's so embarrassing. Don't worry, Abigail. We can dance together. It'll be fine. Because same, actually. Same. Ugh. Oh, come on, Sebastian. Cheer up. You know what? I admit it. I really like flowers. Frog season is really starting to pick up. Oh, I talked to her. I should have brought my fishing pole. I'll lend you mine. Are you going to dance today? Yes. Happy thoughts, Kent. Happy thoughts. Oh! I talked to him twice. You're smells so sweet with all the flowers. These springtime dances can be traced back to ancient fertility rituals. Oof. I'm nervous. I like dancing, but this one is a little stilted. The old timers really love it though. Working up the courage to ask someone to dance with me. I'd like to see if they say anything interesting. Oh, hello there. It's nice of you to talk to me. Yeah, because last time we talked to you, you were weird. Ooh, dip them honey. These honey rings in some onion mustard. That's what I was gonna say. These onion rings and some honey mustard. This game is about farming. I've not seen one barn dance. You are correct. There hasn't really been any, has there? There hasn't. Oh, excuse me. Spring is almost over. What a shame. Marty! Love is in the air and I'm still single. You know what? Just go talk to the mayor. Thank you. Marty looks lovely today. Or ask this guy right here. Just enjoying the scenery. Oh, is it because what's her name's here? I'm practicing my dance move. I need to be perfect. George! Flowers. I can hardly see them. Oh, you know, I got some glasses I found in the river. You want them? I've been working on these floral arrangements for weeks. Do you like them? I love them. Well, should we start the dance now? Not yet. I haven't talked to everybody. Didn't know you were going to say that. That's not fair. Why can't I be the flower queen? Nobody said you couldn't. I am going to be the flower queen. Just, nobody said you couldn't. Maybe somebody said you couldn't, but don't listen to them. Be whatever you want to be. Can I talk to Abigail one more time? Mom makes me do it? Yes. Ask Abigail to be your dance partner. You want to be my partner for the flower dance? Of course! Okay, I'd love to. Yay! We got a dancer! Or a dancer. Someone to be in the dance with us. Yeah, words. Those worked. I should have maybe asked Shane because I think that would have been cuter, what's been going on. But Abigail's our girlfriend, so we need to ask her. We should ask her. I shouldn't say we need to. We should. Is there anything else to do? Can I, like, eat food? Why won't this game let me eat food? Come on now. Let me double check the shop, and then I think we'll probably start the dance. Yeah, I don't need any of that. Okay, cool. It's weird. The word barn in Swedish means children. Oh, I did. That is a little weird, yeah. That is a little weird. Should we start the dance? Yes. Me and Abigail are gonna dance together. Oh my gosh. Look how beautiful Abigail looks. Why did I not get a special outfit? Why do I have to wear my outfit? Why did I get to wear why did I get a special kill outfit? I don't know if there's anything that goes on here or if I just push something. I'm just gonna let it go for a sec though. I'm so tempted to play Portia just to marry Nora. You do whatever you want. Me, Nora, she could drop off the face of the earth and it would all be good. Honestly, no, in real, I do actually not mind Nora. I just like to have like this enemy that I have to keep at bay for storyline reasons because it's just kind of funny. But in all honesty, I don't mind her. She's kind of cute. That was fun! Time to go home. Okay, that was fun. Now we're home. But look, I got a new scarecrow. I don't like doing that, but let's get that out of my way. Let's put it right. Put it right down here. Oh, can I not put it right down here? All right, we'll put it right here. Get an F, I guess. Seems like I was gonna do something else before bed, but I think it was all during the daytime. So I guess we'll just do some fishing real quick, just to kind of pass some moments, get more money. Ow. That's copper. Oh, I forgot to go. Oh, I didn't forget. We need to go find. I don't remember where that was. That glittering stone that supposedly broke open. I remember seeing it, but I don't remember where it was. Oh, that fish came up too high. Didn't get to get that bean. I'm like 100% sure I could sell all of these fish, but if I don't check, I'll be mad at myself, so. See? I didn't want to sell him. That made it to 10. Now any bream we get, we can actually sell. I was waiting for that last one. Same with the smallmouth bass. We can always sell all those. I think I still need copper, but I'm not gonna put it away till the morning. Good night, Maddie. I was looking for Maddie, and I don't know where she went. She shouldn't be on the bed yet. She must have found some cool place to lay. She was right behind me for you guys to see, but she's not anymore. Ooh, slow day for money. Let's we can get through a whole week. I'd like to get to summer by the time the stream ends. We're close, so we still got a while. We got like an hour and a half. But I was just saying, I'd never noticed how long it takes us to get through like a week. I'd like to talk about the famous Adventurers Guild near Pelican Town. The guild leader, Marlin, has a nice reward program for anyone brave enough to slay monsters in the local caves. Adventurers will receive powerful items in exchange for slaying large quantities of monsters. There's a poster on the wall with more details. Very cool. Yeah, I already knew that, actually, but I haven't looked in a while. Happy spirits. Happy spirits! Get out of here. I'm pretty sure I can sell these now, too. How's that coffee going? My coffee? I still got some. Get low, but I still got some. Trying to drink a little bit more water now. Fudge. Fudge. My inventory's full. You know what'd be cute if we make like a pathway right here? We need to make a pathway there eventually. I like to let the trees grow up. This is a big fire hazard here is what it is. But I like to let my trees kind of grow up. Oh, that's the one I was in. What the heck? Yes, I can sell my coffee beans, except for this one. Where's my strawberries? Gold strawberries. That I need to like eat that, but I'm not going to. Sell that. Okay. Oh, I forgot to water my plants. Oh, I gotta go back anyway, so whatever. Ooh. I got purple ones! See if I can actually get these strawberries without having to walk all the way back yet again. Yes! Okay, cool. I actually think I have to keep my purple ones. I do. Alright, everything. Oh, I did have cauliflower, by the way, guys. I saw it there. I did have cauliflower. Oh well. Alright, let's go give this to Clint. Or, no, Marlin? Oh, we have to see Clint, too. Then, see, I'm gonna actually do what you're supposed to do in this game. Use this thing over here. I think it's town. Yes, look at that. So much faster. What am I doing with my life? Taking the long way around. Ew. Oh, well, no, that's nothing I want. Thanks, though, Clint. Woo, Georgia Cola! What? I've never given him. Wait, that must be something else. Maybe not. Never mind. I thought that was something else. Alright. Did I do everything? Because I'd really like to go to the mines today. I didn't check my stuff down below, but that's okay. It's not stuff we really need. Kind of like backup stuff. I'm pretty sure I don't need that. I watered my strawberries. I didn't. Okay, let's go. Let's actually go back the way we came. Let's actually go with the cart. Oh, wait, no, I want to check out that glitter thing. Where have I seen that, though? I am going to take this still. Where is that glitter rock? Oh, I thought it was maybe that. Let's wander around for a minute. Oh, is it up here? Oh, huh. Wonder where that was. Maybe I have to do something else too? Oh, that's not. Oh, it's a greenhouse. Maybe, wait, maybe I have to do something else. Oh, I have to finish them all! I'm stupid. Never mind. I can't, it's not gonna go until I finish all these. Never mind. Never mind. That was nothing yet. Alright, that's cool. That's fine. I forgot it's not individual. It's a whole category. Oh, a piece of cat hair on my nose. That's cool. That's cool. One more down. Still a couple to go. But I want to spend some time in the mine. I can't. No, I can't move that. Oh, that one up there? I don't know. I'll have to go back and try it. I don't think so. I think I tried once. But I'm not positive. I have to go try. What's this? Coal. Well, that was worth my time. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Ain't that as hard as I thought. Let's see. Ooh, there's a chest down here too. Let's see if there's actually a door open. Uh-oh. There's a door open. Run away! Get out of my way. Get out of my way. Wow, that didn't work. Owie! Leave me alone. Did I ask if the spirits were good today? I forgot. Owie. Oh my god! I'm stuck on something. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. Gonna die! Oh, there's a door over here. Do you guys see me? Hope not. Oh! Frick! I didn't want to leave. Trying to eat the algae. Ugh. I gotta go throw that again. They were happy today? Okay. Good. I forgot what it said. That doesn't do much good. I've got so much green algae. Let's just eat it. I know! I got so, like, trigger happy that I was just clicking it to eat, and I ended up clicking yes, I wanted to exit the mines. But let's see if I can just quickly go down here and... And those will be open again. Is there any way to eat, like, multiple one of these and I don't have to stand here and... Okay. Am I back? Am I back? I don't know why that's a thing. Why does my computer randomly restart for absolutely no reason? Let me bring everything back up. I can't see chat at the moment. I don't have it up. Okay. There's chat. Alright. I'm back. I don't know. I can't. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm not even gonna try. I'm not even gonna talk about it. My computer just decided it wanted to restart again. No idea. There was no update, so it wasn't an update. I don't know why my computer just randomly does that, though. So, give me a second, guys. Let me get everything back to working. We gotta go all the way back to where we were. Because the game didn't save. Okay, let me get everything back going here. Music. Switch. Put this there. Does it do it around the same time each time? I've never really paid attention. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like I was sitting here, everything locked up, and the computer just restarted. And I was like, okay. There's like no setting on my computer for it to be restarting randomly, so I don't know why it does that. And it doesn't do it every day. It seems to be like just whenever it feels like it, but whatever. Alright, I think I got everything back up. Chat's there. I can see OBS. Yes, there's no game there because I don't have Steam up yet. So, alright, let me sign back in. So we've got to restart our day pretty much in Stardew. Pretty much got to restart our day. Welcome back, Danny! I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why it does that. I don't know why. I don't even know what to look up to figure out why, so I'm just gonna have to deal with it, I guess. Because, oh, brightness. Because there is, like, nothing sitting there pending for it to restart, so I don't know. I don't know. Hey, I remember to turn my mic on this time, though, because every time I restart, the computer restarts and OBS comes back up, it's always muted. It's always muted. Alright. back to where we were. We have to restart the day we were playing though. So everything we did in the cave, all that eating of the stuff, is for nothing. We were listening for 4 hours and we are 4 minutes in. No. Alright, let's go. Well, that was a pain. Well, whatever. It is what it is. Is this gonna be the same thing? Yes, okay. Oops! Put that down. Put your table down. I actually picked up a ship too. I better put that back down too. The spirits are very happy still. Cool, nothing changed. Put that back on the table. Oh, I can't put it in the middle? Oh. Never mind, I lied. Alright, let's go again. We've been live. Hey! We've been live for 2 hours and 7 minutes. Didn't even miss a beat. That's what I'm talking about, bot. I remember I could sell these and not those. Oh, okay, back to what we were doing. Hey, Brad, nice roll. Nice roll. Oh man. I got the everything over again. Yes. Thank you, Brad. Which actually, real quick, reminds me something. Oh, never mind. It's there. I was gonna say I think the shoutouts are probably turned off, but no, they're there. Alright. So everything's exactly the same, because last time we got 2 purple mushrooms. And I gotta go drop these off because the strawberries, we're gonna have not enough room for all of them. So, see, I learned something. I learned something. I shouldn't say I learned it, I remembered it. Oh, hiccup, ouch. Oh, excuse me. Okay. See if I can go do this first and then we'll make our way back around to our animals. I haven't encountered any crows. Well, that's actually a good thing. Oh, that's right. This was here too. Okay, we're almost back to where we were. Did I do anything other than that before I got rudely disconnected? I don't think I did anything special. I think I just did all my farm stuff. Still don't know what that is, but that's weird. Okay, well, I did all that. Let's go put all this down and then go back to the caves and hopefully not almost die again. Hey. Oh, wait, we might have got that last time. Never mind. I was just gonna say, hey, we got some really good stuff, but I actually might have got that last time. Sell. Okay, let's go see Clint, and then we'll go up there. That's cool. Alright, I think that was all I needed to do at the farm. When you're trying to read chat and you run into a sign, it's all fine.
fine because I don't like hearing my own voice in my earphones, but I always love watching back the video and finding the part with it because it makes me laugh even. I'm super amused. I'm glad. I'm so glad you guys like it. No, we can't hit this. That's something else. That is something else. I thought so, but I wasn't sure. Alright, let's go into the caves. Let's chipmunk me. Go into the caves. This is not gonna, the chipmunk voice is not gonna scare nothing in here. Chipmunk me, all the enemies are just gonna sit and laugh at me. Which is fine. There's no door this time. What a bummer. There's also no enemies either. Ooh, more geodes. Do I really need gold? I mean, I guess I could sell it. I heard that, don't do that. Come on, the spirits are happy! I should have found the hole by now. Having no luck. Oh, there it is. Oh, I should have remembered it was there. Oh, there's an Oogie Boogie Man in there. Gosh, darn it. I don't remember what was in this cave. Sure, why not? That didn't work. Sad map! Was Timothy... No, was Timothy... I was Timothy trying to get away from him, but I totally was grabbing nothing. I didn't need that juice, so it's all good. Two birds, one stone. I was really hoping he would open up a door. I did not see this.
I'm not sure what in my hand I can sell. I'm like 100% sure I can sell these though. Not sure about everything else. I got a lot of geodes I need to go break open tomorrow. I had 20. Another void essence! I like to... Okay, we got 50. So we'll sell those now. That got me to 10. I'm pretty sure I could sell these too. Oh, I found a diamond last time and I didn't find it this time. What a bummer. I could sell that. I don't think I have iron just sitting around, so we'll do that. What time is it? 10. Okay, so we can do maybe like a little bit of fishing just to waste our time. And the voice. Nice try, nice try. Ooh, no. So like that sounds like something. I'm kind of sad Chipmunk is over. It goes by fast, doesn't it? That one's auto, so I don't ever notice when it's on or off. But anytime I have to set my timer for the ears or the cam, it's like the timer goes off, and I would not have ever guessed that was either 10 to 15 minutes. Blah, I'll get a chapstick off me. Okay, better. The dry California air is not nice to my lips. It does, I know. I always think like, 10 minutes is too short. But I don't want to bump it up by too much because I have it on like a 30 minute cooldown. And I feel like if I put it up too much, then you guys wouldn't get to redeem it as much. It's all about time balance, and it's hard. So what fish are we missing for the... Oh, I saw the Z's and apple. What fish pull out? What kind of fish are we missing for the community center? I think we're missing actually some ocean ones, so we should probably focus on the ocean more. I think we actually finished this one, so really the only reason I'm fishing here is because it's right next to home. Not sure if I can get rid of those. I think I said I could get rid of all breams, right? Oh gosh, dang it. All breams and all goldfish, or goldfish. Smallmouth bass. Yes. Before I go to bed though, I just want to look. So we need some specialty fish, which I'm not exactly sure how to get, but I mean, I'll get them in time. I'll figure it out. And oh, I'm missing a night fish. Wonder where a walleye would be. Everything else I've actually got. Oh, okay, so we're missing one night fish. I don't do a lot of fishing at night. I think we found, oh, $2,000. Nice. I think we found the fish, night fish for the river and the ocean. I would think it's the lake maybe that has the walleye. That would be my guess. But that's just pure guess too. Cock-a-doodle-doo. I can hear the spirits whispering something to me. Spirits are somewhat annoyed today. Okay, well, we ain't gonna be doing much today then, huh? Alright, while we have a spare moment, let's see what we are missing in the community center. A lot of crap that I can't get right now, pretty much is the answer, but a lot of this stuff, okay, these things we'll get in time because I didn't realize they were trees. And we're going to be planting trees now in each season. These are ones we need more animals, so we need to get bigger barns. Fish tank we looked at. Vault's just money. Bulletin board is a bunch of random stuff. I need to kind of look up to see what this stuff is. I have a fried egg! I have a fried egg! Oh, we can go put that in there. I could also make a fried egg, actually, but... Yes! Oops. I have a fried egg. We found one in the trash. What would those take to plant? Let's go look. Unmilled rice. Oh, if I would read this. No, I don't have. Never mind. I don't know what I'm saying. Sunflower seeds are summer. Poppy, summer, fall, summer. I'm not gonna plant anything else. I've only got like 2 days left. So that'd be a really bad idea to plant anything right now. But I got a lot of this. I missed again, kitty cat, sorry. So I think what we'll do is we'll play, we'll play at least until summer. Because I want to get to summer. We'll see what time it is. And if we probably play like 1 day into summer. Because I just want to plant my trees. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to plant my trees. I bought them. I saved up all that money. I really want to plant them now. I think really the next thing we are saving for is literally bigger barns. Either bigger barns or the stable. I think I'll probably go with the bigger barn first though. I always do that. Does anyone remember how much I needed? I think I gotta be cutting trees. Maybe we should focus on that. I didn't pick up my fried egg yet. No, I'm gonna go do... Thank you for reminding me, because I would have forgotten. I'm gonna go grab these, or water these first. I thought I had to grab my strawberries, but I just remember we grabbed them yesterday. I actually am gonna go inside too. I need to see what it is to make a maki roll. Because we could also do that and get that off the community center as well. Let's hope I water those. Okay, let's go do this. Let's grab the fried... Oh, the fried egg's inside. Never mind. So, I have to go inside. Egg and milk. Milk. Oh, my egg. And we gotta go break open these geodes, too. Alright, let's go see what it takes. Make a maki roll. Fried egg! Maki roll is fish, seaweed, and rice. Oh, I don't have rice. You don't have rice. Can I make rice? Oops, sorry. Oh, I gotta make algae soup. I don't need that right now, but I'd make an algae soup because that's a good one. We'll put that in there for when we go back to the vines. Can you make rice in this game, or is it something like you have to actually buy? Oh, hi, Joe. Go grab your strawberries. How's it going, Joe? How's your Sunday been? I'm gonna go the long way. Hey, Joe, I got my catfish back. And I actually didn't accidentally throw it away this time. Or actually recycle it. But I got it back, so that was a success. Because dang, was I mad that I threw that in the recycle bin. Alright, I suppose. That's kind of everyone's vibe today. Where am I going? Oh, yeah. It's kind of everyone's vibe. Because I'm the same. I'm starting to wake up more. I was really sleepy this morning because I didn't sleep. I just didn't go to bed right. I was up all night. But I'm starting to wake up more, so I'm feeling better. Where is this? Is this up here? Oops, I missed. Animal bundle. Of course not. Why would it be there? Of course not. Why would it be there? Why is my Steam blinking at me? Of course, I clicked everyone but this one. Fiddlehead Fern. You say so. Alright, got my fried egg down. Let's go. Should I? Got all that. Oh, I could probably. You know what? Wait, where am I? Let me go talk to Robin real quick. One, it'll refresh my memory of what we need for the barns. Two, I kind of want to see something. I feel like there's something else I can make real quick. Not literally real quick, but right here. Robin, what do you got? Okay, so... There, I need to make a mill. Allows you to mill wheat, beets, and rice. That would be nice. 150 woods, 50 stone. Oh, 4 cloths. But how the hell do you get 4 cloths? I'll figure that out. Big coop. Yeah, 10,000. Okay, so that's a way, or it's not a ways off, but 400 wood. 1,200. All right, we're starting to get more money. It's not rolling in as fast as I would like, but it's also not slow as it could be. Cloth, though. How do you do cloth? I'll just wait for the maki rolls until I can get that thing. Need a cave carrot. Oh, $75. I got a cave carrot though. Uh-oh! It's Pierre's birthday. Let's go see what Pierre likes. I almost forgot. I haven't looked at the calendar in quite a few days. Pierre. really loves fried calamari. Come on, dude. Daffodil and a dandelion. Look what I got in my hand. A Pierre? Pierre's birthday? Yes. You remembered my birthday. You're welcome. Good morning, Abigail. The birds were happily chirping today. They're too simple to understand the future. It's better to be like them, isn't it? Sure. Whatever you say, Abigail. Ugh. Ugh. Trash. Who? Oh, more trash. Who puts trash in the trash bin? Seriously? Skeletons. Those are too hard. I don't like those. They're good money, but I don't have the time for that crap. Oh my gosh, I have 6 geodes to open? Alright, well this is gonna take down a lot of money, but not that much. Do these ones first. I don't even know if I'm gonna have enough space in my inventory for all these. Unless I get a duplicate of something. I have to go back! I have to go. I think I can drop some of these off at what's his name's. Yes, so that'll help. But oh my god, my inventory! You never saw nothing down there. Oh, I can only donate one thing. Okay, well that's fine. Oh, goody goody, what do I get? Ooh. Nice. Alright. I'll be back! Famous last words. My inventory is full. Did you enjoy Back for Blood? Wait. Back for Blood. That I had the name wrong. Did you enjoy it? I still haven't really decided if I think I would enjoy it or not. I'm like on the fence. When polished, the stone becomes attractively luminous. Oh. I thought that was gonna say something more interesting. I really did. You know what? I should put my statues I'm getting in like a nice spot. Did I put that one there? Because I've got 2 now. Limestone? Nope. Jasper? Nope. Oh, nope. Yes. Oh, okay, that one can go in there. Yeah, this is the first time I've ever collected this that I didn't have to give it to Pierre. Or, no, excuse me. Gunther. That's true. You are correct, Brad. You are correct. It's probably worth giving it a try while it's free. Good old stretch of the back. Alright, I'll wait. I'll come back. I was gonna just do that while I was standing here. Did anyone notice whose birthday's tomorrow? I could have looked that up ahead of time. Pink what? Star shards. Gunther! I have one more for you! Please don't close your doors. Please don't close your doors. Please don't close your doors. I don't know. Does he close his doors? If he does, I'm in here. Cool. Alright. You know what? While we're down here, why don't we go actually collect our stuff in their bins down here? So for cloth, can I make cloth or do I have to buy it? Because in Portia, not Stardew, Portia, we make it. Ah! Alright, I like that I don't have to put... You know, I should probably just put that crap down then. I don't need my bait anymore for that. I should just probably put it in my bins and I'm not carrying it everywhere. I think I'm also gonna try night fishing up at the lakes. See if that... it might have to be raining. I don't know. Sometimes it has to be raining. Sometimes it has to be a season. We're only missing one night fish though, so that's all I know. I'm kind of assuming if it's just night fish. I don't know. I was gonna say that it doesn't have to be at night, but it could be. You don't need to fill them now. Oh, I don't need to fill them now, I should say. When we upgraded our, or not when we upgraded, but when we leveled up our fishing. Fudge. When we leveled up my fishing, I selected like a perk that says, no need to fill traps anymore with fish bait. I forget what the other one was. I can't, there was two options you got to pick, and I chose that one because, I don't know, it seemed like it was nice. It seemed like a good idea. Do I have wood on me? I do. Alright, let's do some cutting of some trees. Oh! I'm taking the butterflies home away from them, sorry. Oh, my inventory's full for that. Okay, wait, hold up. Your girl's dumb, it's alright. I want to take that down too. Not that one. Sell! Sell! Not sell! Not sell! Not sell. Sell. Yes, okay. Back down here. I wasn't actually positive that that was the thing, that didn't have to do that, and then it was kind of a test to see that the next time we went back if I actually had stuff in the bins, and I did, so. My brain kind of remembered that being a thing, but wasn't actually totally 100% positive. I just need to learn how to use the fishing pole with the bait now. And then I can use that bait for that, because I really don't need it for anything else. But I didn't understand how to get it to attach to your pole. That's not what I wanted. Go away. There we go. Ooh, it's getting late. I need to get back up to the night fishing. I'm just gonna put this bear in here for now. I'll try and remember to put it out, but Let's do this. Let's take the cart. I actually probably don't need that much inventory space for what I'm gonna go do, but it's fine. See, how do I put that there, I wonder? Maybe tomorrow in game we'll sit around and we'll see if we can figure that out. I'm just not sure how to attach it. You know, algae is now a good thing to grab. If we can make that algae soup, no. Take it with us to the mines? That should help us tremendously. Those are the fish I like. I didn't have to do diddly squat for that. However, when that's the case, it's never a good fish. Or, like, one I want. Oops, oh well, darn. Alright, one more try. Not gonna be what I want. Alright, fine. I don't know if I can sell these, so I think what I'll do is we'll just go home, go sleep, sell them in the morning. I've never noticed what the cutoff time is till you fall asleep. It just kinda happens, and I go with it. Alright, then that money. Have good sleeps. Almost ready for a nap in real life? Kinda. In game? Definitely. It was nighttime. Actually, I'm doing actually a little bit better, so. Coffee kicked in. I have 10,000 G's. Spirits are very happy. Cool! We have 2 more days. Oh, look at all this good stuff. I got 2 more days until... Oh, thanks, George. You found some good quality stones that I literally am just gonna sell. Anyways, 2 more days and spring is over. I'm gonna have to go buy more wheat again. Wait, what is this? silo required. That's right. Okay. I keep thinking that's something that I could use and I'm not, but it's not at the moment. Okay, what do we have here? Keep. Keep. I don't fish up there a lot, so these are probably fish I can keep. On this. Why would you open the right one for once? On our horde farm. Oh, I can sell this one. Yes. I can sell my beans. This one? I was gonna focus on wood today, but I don't know if I will. Not 100% sure if I will. I have the money though to get a big barn. So maybe we should concentrate on wood. Maddie, get out of the way! So maybe we should, because that would be a nice accomplishment for today, getting the big barn. And you know what I think I'll do? Oh, I was going to work on the fishing pole. Hold up, let me do that first. I might move the barn, is what I was going to say to that. Okay, so I have... Increases the chance of finding treasures when fishing, however, fish aren't crazy about the taste. Okay, so we don't want that. Make sure her catch more secure, causing the fish bar to cling to your catch works best. I don't really need that. Is that the only two I have? Oh, these are ones. The metal tab and colorful streamer creates an enticing spectacle for fish. Increases the bite rate when fishing. I got two of these. Let's try that one. So how do I get this to go on here? How do you attach a bait to a fishing pole? Beef jerky full of salt, so can't have it, but my favorite thing ever, beef jerky is so good. It is not good for you, but it's so good. It is too. Yeah, you're right. I don't know how to attach that though. No. You can't get anything out when you have your fishing pole out. I may have to look that one up. But it's not a big deal because I'm not fishing anyways at the moment. I was just gonna do it because I could. I think I needed, what, 400 pieces of wood? I have 200. Alright, that's a lot of trees. About these islands, cutting these trees really close to the water, you have a good chance of losing all the wood. Okay, let's hope this falls the right way. It's not going to. Oh, it did! Oh, thank goodness. Thought it looked like the way it was shaking, it was gonna fall the other way. Is there like if I always cut it from this side, is it always gonna fall to the right? Nope. Game lies. Oh, butterflies! No! Lost a bottle of the water. Alright, I'm gonna leave that one there because I'm not positive if I cut that down. Oh, I'm almost out of energy. That's a thing. Alright, let's sell all this real quick. Oh, what am I doing? Hold up! It's only noon. Could go eat some food. Put this back. But don't know how to work that. Oh, I have cloth. I have cloth. Did somebody want cloth? Ah! 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 Somebody did want cloth. I don't know how to get it. Where to go now? I don't know how to get it though. Oh, this. Oh, that's never mind. Okay, anyway, did I go in the cave, guys? Does anyone remember? I'm dumb, I don't remember. I did, okay. I'm gonna go up to the bathhouse, I guess is what it's called. Get some energy. That's the best way to do it. First, I'm gonna go drop off this cloth that I've had for probably ages. Somebody's birthday's today as well. I need to go check that out. I probably will not have time. And then I should be able to get, I think, what was it, peach and orange? Because I do have that coming. I do have that coming. We get beef jerky once in a while for a treat? Yep. Nice snack. It's full of nummy. Oh, the mayor's in the way again. Is there any way around? Can I see this without him in the way? Move it! Of course everyone's happy on the weekend. They're not working. Fine, I'll come back. A-hole standing in my way. Okay, I should have probably taken the cart. Whatever. Oh, I could definitely eat it all the time, too. I try not to. Just because it's not good. But then again, I do that a lot with a lot of things. I shouldn't eat too much of something just because it's just not good for you. I can eat it. But I shouldn't. Alright, we got one more day of spring, and then we'll probably play one day of summer just to do the trees. Kind of hard on the teeth too. Some, yeah. Some are. Not all of them. Some are pretty soft, but those are ones are even more saltier, I think, when they're softer. probably not real, but it feels like that is what I kind of mean. Because there's more salt doesn't mean they're softer. It makes it feel that way. Wait, you know what? I'm cutting this rock, or hitting this rock, because it's going to annoy me. Alright, let's see if the mayor is out of the way, and I don't think I'm going to have time to find out what they want, go home, get it, and then probably find them, depending on who it is. Unless it's someone who's always at the saloon. But I know someone's birthday was the day after Pierre's. I just don't know who. Ooh, Emily! Perfect. Emily, is she the one at the bar? Let's get her and Caroline mixed up still. Emily. Oh, she liked cloth. She likes all the rubies. So amethyst, aquamarine, emerald, jade, ruby, topaz, all that stuff. We could do those. Run home, see which one I have the most of, and then we'll see if she's the one at the bar. I think she is. Perfect. Perfect then. Why isn't my thing scrolling? Oh, there it goes. Hi! Hi, Taser! How's it going? I was wondering what all that racket outside my door was. I have 2 rubies. Where are you, Taser? Where are you? Oh, you're right out of view. There's his big old head. Maddie's up too. Birthday? Not quite. Not quite. You're getting close though. Oops. Hi, Taser. Hi. No, you don't want to say hi? All right. He wanted to be a star. Yep. He's like, let me in. I want to be a star today, even though he's right out of camera. He's right behind my chair. He's not quite out of camera view. Got Maddie up too. Don't know where she came from, but she's sitting there all of a sudden. 3, 2. What's the other thing? Jade 3, aquamarine. I have 5, so we'll give her an aquamarine. It's Mama's birthday, almost, but not quite. Oh, Emily, I have a birthday present for you. And you are the one. Happy birthday! You're welcome. Let's go talk to Shane, see how he's doing. He probably shouldn't be here drinking. Maybe he's drinking water. I'm renting my room from Marnie at a really good price. It's small, but I can't complain. Exactly. Are you drinking water? Oh, it's been a while, Sebastian. What's up? You know, I should be doing something productive right now. I just lose focus too fast. Maybe I should drink more coffee? Yes! Yes! It's kind of the same. I am doing something productive, but always more coffee. Alright, so we've got some energy. Let's cut some more trees down. I was hoping to do some more fishing, but I think I need to wait for it to be night. Or, I mean, not night, rainy. We're gonna try that. Got too many trees right here. I lost some wood. I'm beginning not to be able to see my stuff. 370. Waiting for these ones to grow up. All right, we got 400 woods. I think. Oh, I got even more. There might be more back in there, but I can't get back there. I think that's all we needed for the barn, and then I just need to grab my stones. I'm gonna grab those now because tomorrow morning we'll probably forget. And yes, sell everything else. And then we'll be able to get the big barn. Ooh, I got more wood. Big barn. And we'll be completely broke because that'll take all of our money. I gotta see how big it is. If it's too big and we can't fit it down here, we're gonna have to come up with a new spot for it. And I think I'll probably just put it over here. I've got it all pretty cleared out except for this one tree. I'm just not sure with this one tree if I cut it down, I'm gonna need to put that bin up somewhere else. That's the only thing I'm kind of wondering about. But it's okay. It's fine where it is. Can we make anything fun? Turn vegetables and pickles and fruits into jam. I'm not using that. I should be. We should make a cheese press. Why? Because I want one. No other reason. What all this stuff I can make that I'm not really paying attention to? I don't know if I have enough wood for that, so I'm not gonna make it right now. Oops, I want this. Does somebody want cheese? Yes! Oh my gosh, we gotta make a cheese thing. 430, it needed 45. Okay, let's go cut a couple more trees. Is there any down here I could cut though? No? Okay. We need, what did I say, 45? I have 430, so I need like 15 pieces of wood. Yes, 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 it's late. Not too late to chop a tree! That's probably enough, but we'll just chop this one too. We need a mayonnaise machine here, definitely, yes. Definitely. Cool boys. Go to bed. Wake up. And we'll go see Robin. Then we gotta save money probably for more animals. What? Leveled up. We shouldn't have made that much money today. Oh, okay, 977. Better than I thought. Because I didn't really do a lot. I just chopped trees all day long. Well, we'll have $1,000. That's better. Lucky lunch. An old legend has it that this meal is irresistible spirits of luck and fortune. After consuming it, you're likely to attract a good spirit into your belly, where it will bless you with good fortune until the meal is digested. Sounds weird, huh? I can't say I believe it, but the meal is delicious nonetheless. I have now learned how to make a lucky lunch. Spirits are happy. I had this crazy new idea that I want to involve you in. It's called clothing therapy. Please come to the mayor's house today to see what it's all about. Love, Emily. Okay. Really glad you become a part of our community. I've enclosed a $500 or 500G check from the Stardew Valley Agricultural Fund to help you continue your good work. Maybe you can buy some more seeds with it. I can buy something with it, that's for sure. Alright, let's do some farming things in the morning, because I'm not sure what time Robin opens up. No, we've never made our own mayonnaise. We've probably never really made our own anything. We're not very good at things that consists of having to make your own of. We're lazy. Every time I try to milk Rose. I'm gonna have to go get more of this, though. That tree grew up in the night. I thought I had all the trees out of here. Dang it, I watered that one like 3 times. Alright, let's go grab this, and then we'll head in that general direction for the day. Actually, will. No, never mind. I want to make sure I have enough wood for that. I was gonna say we'll make our thing first, but I don't want to accidentally have not enough wood. Not that I can't, like, walk outside and, like, cut some wood, but... Granny used to do stuff like that just to show us how as kids, but I don't remember how to do it. No, I don't even think my grandparents did that. I don't remember. Alright, let's go this way. Excuse me, Manny. I got too many trees growing. More wood though. Let's go see if I've got everything. I think I do. No, that was for the coop. I want the barn first. We might not have the money. Wait a minute. I can't remember now if the barn was 10 or the coop was 10. The coop was 10. 12. Gosh dang it, we're so close. Yeah, that was 10. 450, so we need to cut some more trees. Cool, alright, we'll go cut some more trees. That's fine. It's all fine. It's all just fine. We're gonna play another day anyway, because I want summertime to come around. I forgetted that what was it, 450? I forgot that the coop and the barn were 2 different prices. I need an eel. I don't think I have an eel. Oh, I keep selecting to do those, and I keep just walking off and not doing them. I don't think I have an eel, but I'm not sure. Oh, I gotta go see! Whatever, Mayor. There's Jojo Cola in there. I gotta go see Emily. She used to have snap string beans and them and stuff like that too, because she would tell us that when she was a kid there was no food and you had to struggle and save stuff, and she used to tell us it would happen again, so learn and be ready. Good idea. She's probably not wrong. It's a good thing to know. Like, my grandfather used to say things like that. Like, they didn't have a lot of food either. But I don't remember him ever knowing how to do any of that stuff. But I don't know. He may have, and he may have just never taught us. I don't know. I don't really remember. Googled mayo. Doesn't seem very hard at all. It probably isn't, honestly. There's not that much ingredients in mayo. I don't think. Welcome to clothing therapy. You're probably wondering, what is clothing therapy? Yeah. I'll try to explain. This feels like a Haley thing. Oh no, she makes stuff, doesn't she? So many of us are struggling with personal issues, things holding us back from living how we want. It's important to me that everyone has a free and happy life, so I came up with a new kind of therapy to help people achieve that. My voice clutched up. It's based on the amazing power of self-expression. Self-expression is a wonderful healing tool. Did you know that? Didn't know it was really a healing tool, but I know it's a good thing to have. Behind this curtain, you'll find racks and racks. I thought that said rocks and rocks. Racks and racks of clothes. There's endless options to choose from. Your job is simple. Find the outfit that truly speaks to you and put it on. Feel confident in yourself and your choice. You all have a unique style to share with the world. Shane, you're up first! Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's why I was thinking, like, my grandpa, so it would have been his parents, I feel like did stuff like that, and I feel like he probably knew stuff like this. Like, he knew how to do that kind of stuff. So I used to hear millions of stories from my grandpa. But I don't really remember him ever teaching us things like that, if he even knew. Just like going clothes shopping, almost. You're just in time! Just observe and keep an open mind, okay? Okay. I'm gonna stand over here. Oh, nice! Nice, Shane. I like. Shane, it's a new side of you we've never known about. That's great! It's Tony the Tiger. Now go outside with confidence and show the world. Yeah. You're rocking that, Shane. I like it. You kind of look like Sebastian, actually, now. With shorter hair. Okay, everyone gets a turn. Oh no! Poor Clint over here is starting. He's gonna turn blue again. He's getting kind of worried. Oh, that's pretty! I didn't notice who that was. Was that Leah? Let's see what Demetrius thinks. Oh, it was Robin. I didn't notice if it was Leah or Robin. Hi, Tyser! What's up, big boy? How's it going? What's the mayor gonna wear? Oh, I like! Oh, these people got style! He looks like a mixture of the Wizard or maybe like the Joker. Big boy, big Tyser. Alright, what's Abigail! Very nice. It's sweaty in here. You know what, Abigail? Not bad, not bad. I don't get it, but okay. Clint, you're up. Alright, Taser, I need my hand. What do you want? Why do you want so much love? Why do you want so much love? Huh? Huh? Well, you're right out of camera, so no one can see you being loved. Okay, Emily, I'll do it. See what Clint comes out with. He comes out with a suit of armor, too. Oh, so stylish, cute. Oh, you're gonna make him blush. Wait, cute, come on, no, Clint, cute is a compliment. No guys don't like to call cute, but come on. You're rocking it. Please don't say I have to do this because, I shouldn't say because I don't know what I would pick, but I like a new style too. I just hope this experiment helps everyone break out of their shell a bit. I like my clothing, so. Yes. Emily. Oh, Clint's back. I couldn't do it! I don't want to break out of my shell! No, Clint, get out there. I'm gonna kick you out the door. Right out the door. Oh, I guess I'm interrupting something here, aren't I? Not really. Oh, Clint, yeah, he makes me so sad too. I understand. I'll leave now. Congrats, Scarlet. Congrats for what? What? Congrats! What did I do? Does he think we were having a private moment? Because that's not the case. Clint! Oh, the mayor took his outfit off already. Okay. Alright. Well, that was fun. Actually, that was really cute. That was actually really cute. I already opened those. What did Emily want? Oh, Abigail wants an eel. I'm gonna see if I have an eel first. But, dang! That was cute! I'm kind of sad I didn't get to, but also I don't know what I would have picked. Brown chicken, brown chicken. Emote only? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, you get emote only for, I don't know how long I have it set. 5 minutes? Okay, let's make the cheese thing. Because I have to get money anyway and I have time to do stuff, so. Where was it? Oh, what do I need? Oh, hardwood and a copper bar. 10 hardwood and a copper bar. 10 hardwood and a copper bar. Oh, no. Do I have hardwood? I have a copper bar. Fudge! Stop opening that. Oh, no! I only have 7. Can't count. How do you get copper? Or how do you get that again? It was like a certain tree, but I don't know where any of those trees are. Is there a special way to make hardwood too? Hey, Brad, no talking during emote only chat. No talking. Show off those emotes y'all got. Show off all those cute emotes. Hardwood. I thought hardwood was just from these tree stumps. And I don't know how else to get them. I'm stuck. Dang, you guys got some cute ones. No! Okay. Last time it fell up there, it got up there and I couldn't get it down. I'm making me a path technically around. I feel more comfortable over here. I love seeing other people's emotes. Oh! The wrong thing in my hand. No! Fine. Anything for hardwood over here? Can I cut this? Oh! My axe ain't strong enough. Well, that's a thing. Alright, there was no hardwood over here either. Darn it! Nice! Show off those magic emotes! I love her new ones. They are so freaking adorable. I caught jelly of hers because I love the style and I love like the horror theme to each of them. Ooh, I got some seeds. Mix seeds. I think I'll just hold on to those for one more day, just in case. So is there, okay, I might have to look it up. Is there any way? Is there any way to get like wood into hardwood? Or is that not a thing? Or how else do you find hardwood? I know how to find it, but I feel like there should be another way. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Oh, emote only is over. But if you guys want to keep spamming the emotes, go ahead. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. We shouldn't find any more birthdays, so... okay, yeah, I know that. Large stump, yeah. Mahogany tree? So... I need to see if I have mahogany. Or a large log with a steel axe. I don't have the large log. Oh! 6 large stumps respawn daily in the secret woods, making it possible. Okay, I need to just leave, like where I'm at. I could probably just chop down or plant some things, but oh wait, I have a ton of them. Hey, if you want to keep spamming them, keep spamming them. I love the pants one. I like that pants one. Okay. Let me, do I have enough energy? Plenty. Let's go down here. See if I can chop something down here. I literally need, what? 3? Did I have 7? So, I don't know exactly what a mahogany tree looks like, but I do know what a stump looks like. And while we're down here, there is stuff over here I can grab. Yas. So which of, can I cut these down? Okay, that's not the tree I want. Maybe it's this one. I don't know the difference between the trees. Nope, that's just wood. That's just wood. That's not what I wanted. Okay, whatever. That's not choppable. I'm ready to sleep, but I don't feel ready to leave yet. Oh, Denny, if you need sleep, get some sleep. If it makes you feel any better, I'm probably playing one more day after this. So I just want to play one day of summer. Then I probably will be getting off. If that makes you feel any better. You want to hang out for just a few more minutes or go and get some sleep, either or works for me. Alright, apparently I don't know what it's talking about. I thought I did. Oh, my inventory's full. Famous last words. Alright, I'll have to figure that out later. Can I chop these trees out? I don't want to, though. They're too pretty. What did you have? Oh, that's right. Pickles? Please. I never go over here. Right, yeah, I do that. I don't necessarily chat, but there's a lot of, like, emotes I have that are gifted subs. And there's even some of people I don't think I've ever been in their channel before, and somehow I have a gifted sub. I mean, I'll take it, cool. But I got some, I'm like, who are you? And why do I have emotes all of a sudden? Thank you, though, I'll take them. But I like to lurk, so I'm a big lurker in chats. Oh, wait. Oh, never mind. Okay, so I should probably put all this stuff away until I'm ready for it, since apparently I'm not ready for it and I gotta figure it out. We'll put this there, and we'll just put these here just for now. As well as this. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let's put this bug meat away. Or bait, because I don't know how to use it. That's fine. I've had issues with sleeping anyways. Think it has to do with my bad headspace, not bed headspace. Yeah, that'll do it. It sucks when you're just not in the right headspace. It is really, really difficult to sleep sometimes. Like, for me last night, I don't know why I couldn't fall asleep, but it screwed up my sleeping. But there has been times where you get just super stressed about something and you just cannot sleep. And then your sleep schedule just gets all messed up. It's not cool. Then it makes everything even more worse. Okay, I'm gonna plant 3 mahogany trees. Let me plant seeds. Put it, no, let's put it up where we're at. The computer says 100 and the AQI is 180. Oh, 180 is not too bad compared to what we've been having. Oh, I just do this. 1 tree, 2 tree, 3 tree. Then we'll get some mahogany trees, and then we'll be able to get the cheese thing. So, yas. I'm trying to debate if you know, I'll just fish here. Extra money. I need to, whoops. Yeah, I know, I missed my fish. I accidentally hit the volume on my earphones. Is it still real smoky outside, Mom? Or has it cleared out for the day? Because lately the AQI has said it's like super smoky, but I don't smell it. Oh, no. Ow! Oh! Santa keeps bringing me coal. It looks kind of like, oh, so now it just looks like an overcast. I don't mind that so much. I don't mind the overcast look. It's when it's like starting to get down, like it starts to settle down and then it looks like fog. But it's obviously not. That's when it gets a little annoying. But it's whatever. Alright, let's sell this. Whoops. And hopefully... Do I have to water the trees? I hope not. Just because I don't want to. Should I? Oh, I can't. Okay, never mind. You actually can't. It's fine. Alright, one more day! Summertime! And then we'll probably end stream there, because I'm getting hungry. Yeah, we started talking food early in the stream, and that sucked. That sucked. I have no idea what I'm gonna have for lunch today, though. Actually, some leftover pizza sounds good. Dad said he smelled smoke a little bit. I had my window open last night, and I never really smelled it. But it was really low this morning when I got up, so I thought you probably could if you walked outside. I heard that some folks stand near moving trains to gather any debris that falls off. The things people will do for freebies. Is that what that train means? Every time a train goes by, I'm like halfway across the map and I don't know if I should run over there to the train. Maybe I should, or maybe I should just wait up. No, I don't think just wait up by the train. Alright, it is the first day of summer. So you know what that means. Get rid of all this stuff that's no longer good. Oh, my strawberry seeds are probably gone too. Boo. Oh, my cats. Alright, let's see what we can plant. First, I could sell that. So we have our orange sapling, our peach sapling. Summer. Fall. Oh! I had garlic seeds I've been planting in spring. Whatever. Melon. Pepper. Poppy. Radish. Spring assortment, which I wasn't really focused on. Strawberry seeds for next year. Summer quality. Okay, and we can probably plant this if we have room. Alright, look at all this stuff we can do. Eat my patty melt. You didn't eat it? Ew, no, I'm not eating your patty melt, Mom. It has Swiss cheese on it. No. No. Why didn't you eat it? I'm sorry, Brad. We don't want it either, so we're like to share. We don't want any of it either. At least you're just getting traces of it and you're not soaked in it. My inventory's full, so I'm freaking out. Alright, you know what? That's dog! I'll cut those down when the time is right. That time is not right now. God, my cat's in my way. There, I got it. I should just cut those down, but I don't want to. I want to complain about it. You want a patty melt? You can have my mom's half because she has Swiss cheese on it and I don't eat Swiss cheese. I don't like Swiss cheese. I shouldn't say I don't eat it. I don't like it. Okay, let's see what we got here. We've got 3, 4, 1, 2. Whoopsie! That's not what I want to do. Actually, that looks kind of cute. I'm gonna I don't know if I should do that. Anyway, so we got, we'll not do one right in this case. Blueberry, this, these up here. Use the water spaces efficiently. Woo woo! Alright, so those are planted for the season. I probably should go get more seeds. But I also don't want to because I also want to go get the barn today. Or, yes, the barn today. I don't know if I'll have time though, so we'll see. First day of the season, we got lots to do. We also gotta go see if Marnie will give me some wheat or hay or whatever this is. Ooh. Oh, summer has that weird bug sound and I hate that. My strawberries! Okay, so I think there's a trick to this. It takes 28 days to produce a mature peach tree. Bear fruits in the summer only grows if the 8 surrounding tiles are empty. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll put one way over here. Oh, I can't. I don't have to. Put that one there. And we'll put this one way over here. There. Is that what the bug sound was? Just the things in my hands? What? Okay, this is my first time ever planting trees, so we're gonna see how that goes. Hopefully, I did it right. Now let's go see if Marnie will give me some... Get out of here. Some stuff. What are you doing over there, Teaser? And then we'll run up and see Robin and see if we can... Oh, I gotta go get my stuff. Oh, Marnie. Marnie's not here. Of course. Why would Marnie be there? Why is Marnie anywhere where we ever need her? Fine, Marnie. I'm leaving. You ain't getting my business. I need to learn how to make my own hay, and I don't have to rely on you anymore. I think there is a way to do it, I just don't know, and I haven't really taken the time to figure it out either. Alright, Marnie. It's war now. I have 6 of those totems. I need to look and see what they do. 6 is a little bit too many. Warps directly to the beach. Consumed if used. Oh, okay, well then I should keep them. I forgot. I didn't pick it up, so it's fine. I forgot to see if I had an eel for Abigail, but it's swab. Swab now. New season, new fruits. So, am I missing anything for summer? I don't think so. I think I did it all. It would be nice to be able to get, like, some high quality stuff, but it's not necessary. Hi, chef, chanters, vault, fish tank, pantry. No, we did everything for summer, so we don't have to focus on anything. Cool. Cool. Yeah. See if there's any birthdays today, because it's the first day of the month. No. Jazz is coming out. What? Never mind. Let's go see if we can get our big barn. Put all this stuff real quick. I showed Mama a pic of the lightning that was here yesterday. Son, I hate lightning though. Nah, I'm just kidding. I don't like dry lightning, but I freaking love lightning storms. Hi there! Hello! big barn I want. So, does that mean, can I get rid of this barn? Oh, select barn to upgrade. Okay. Okay, I'll start working on your barn upgrade first thing tomorrow morning. Thank you! Now we have absolutely no money. That's fine. Alright, guys, so next time we come back to Stardew, we've got the rest of the day to play, but next time we come back to Stardew, we'll have our barn upgrading going on, and then we can get even more, even more animals. And now we just gotta work toward more money. Actually, what's today? Monday? Okay, first let's go to Pierre's. Ooh, a nice old chocolate bar from the trash. And let's get a cutscene first. Never mind. Let's get a cutscene first. Hello, does anyone mind if I'm in their room? This is in Abigail's room. I found Pierre's secret stash. Of what? Why am I snooping around in his room? Yeah, hey, who's in the bedroom? I don't know why I entered the bedroom. I'm sorry. I would never do this. How did you find that? I don't know. What have I walked into? Maybe I'm on some kind of drug and I'm just being teleported here. Quick, give it to me. Here, I don't want it. Promise me you won't tell anyone about this. Your wife deserves to know about this. I don't even know what I found. Your secret's safe. I don't know. Thanks, I appreciate you. Just forget you ever saw this, okay? And I'll just forget that you were snooping around in my bedroom. Now I have to find a new hiding spot. I don't want to be in here! What? Why? Game? No, now I gotta go talk to him again. What? I didn't want to go in there. Hello, wheat. I want more wheat. Alright, more wheat. Oh, hops. Did I have corn? Okay, we're gonna spend a lot of money. I'm gonna get one more corn because I don't remember if I had it. Oh, I have sunflower somewhere, don't I? I don't have money for it. Never mind. Red cabbage. Oh my gosh. You guys, we gotta come back and get... We gotta come back and get some stuff. I also gotta save money for, Laser, stop. For fall stuff. I was in trouble and I don't even know what I did. I literally walked in to buy seeds and somehow I ended up in his bedroom snooping through his secret stash. But okay. Didn't say what the secret stash was. I mean, for all I know, Pierre, it could have been a secret stash of candy bars. Taser, stop! Whatever you're doing back there. I hear you're doing something. Alright, there's that. We'll do one corn here, because I don't really know if I had corn. So what am I doing? Maybe I should have said, like, I'm gonna tell your wife. I'm gonna tell on you! Maybe I should have. I thought I had sunflower seeds left over. I do. Okay, never mind. Stop complaining. You do. God, I gotta clean up my farm so bad. I'm starting to... Oh. Worms. I'm starting to get stuck on stuff. Alright. It said 8 tiles. Well, now I don't know which way. Left, right? All around? Maybe I shouldn't have planted those trees there. You know what? We'll do another secret garden over here until I get used to how trees work. Just do it right here. I forgot. 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll look pretty here anyway. And I only bought 1 hops, so I'm gonna plant that next to my house. Or like right here. Yeah, right here is fine. Yay! No, don't tell her. I don't know how I got there. I think someone drugged me and then put me in there. That was just weird. All of a sudden I walked in to buy veggies. Or not veggies. Seeds. All of a sudden then I was in his bedroom. Where are my spice berries? Have I never saved spice berries? What are these? Holly. That goes in there. Are you telling me? No, there's no way I never saved any spice. Oh, they're right there. Never mind. The girl's blind. It's all okay. Sure, I guess that was the mayor's is when he's playing hide the pickle for more. Maybe. Maybe that's where I got it. Oh, it wasn't. I didn't come in here and finish this. It wasn't me, I swear. I ate a mushroom. That would have been actually funny if I did eat a mushroom. But I ate a mushroom. That's how I ended up there. All I wanted was seeds. I'm stuck again. Oh no. You know what? Cut this tree down. This tree's in my way and I'm tired of getting stuck. Oh, bites. How long do mahogany trees take to do their thing? So what are we going for next? I guess the bigger coop? And honestly, just money for more seeds and more trees. Because we opted for a barn instead. Oops, not that one. Let's see, what time is it? 9:30. I don't know. I think I'm done for the day. I think I've got everything, but I really need money, so let's just do some last minute fishing while we end our day, I mean. As they end up with our day. I should do night fishing elsewhere, but it is already late. I'm kind of waiting for the rain, actually. I want to do night rain fishing up by the mines. Well, this ain't being very helpful. I have to get hardwood to make my cheese machine because I'm oh my gosh. I'm 3 hardwood short. And I've got to either fight a maple tree or some other things to get that hardwood. And I don't know where to get it at the moment. Well, this ain't going well. I'm gonna switch sides here in a second. But yeah, I'm like 3 pieces of wood short. And I looked up hardwood and oh my gosh! I didn't get... You know what? Leave it. I'm going down here. Not one fish. Not one fish out of that. Oh, fudge. Well, this is going super bigly. because I see that stupid Z over my head. I think it's the exclamation point. Finally. I just want fish for money. But I planted some mahogany trees, so hopefully they grow, and then I can get the hardwood from that. Oh, you ain't no match for me, Mr. Pike! That was gonna be something else. It was gonna be something else. One more fish, and then I'll see if we would sell and go to bed. I have time to see what I can sell. Alright, fine. Another piece of algae. Wonderful. That was a great way to end my fishing night. I couldn't sell that. I'm like not positive actually I could sell this one either. Oops, wrong button. Sorry. I can! Yes! One fish! Put this trash in the recycle bin. And off to bed we go. Oh, it's gonna be just in time too. I think it's 2 a.m. Alright, that'll probably be it for me today as well. $800, that's not bad. Oh, I got 90 bucks for that fish. Better than nothing, I guess. But yep, that'll be it for me today. Hope you guys had fun. I like I said, always love Stardew. Stardew Sunday is Stardew Sunday is always a fun one. It's always nice to chill, relax. And once I got woken up, oh, my hair is just got all over the place. But anyway, once I woke up and got better, feeling better. It was good stream, good stream. And next time when we come back to Stardew, we'll have to look at, you know, keep our eye on the trees, see how all that works, try and get our mahogany. I'll see if I can figure out another way to get it, but I was quickly going over what it said online and it seemed like I didn't have any of that. But who knows, I'll look. And then we'll have our barn being made. Like, I know it's small screen, but let's go see real quick if Robin is out there. I'm not gonna do anything else than peek and see if she's over here. It says it's got a little construction thing, but she's technically not sitting there. Only an hour and 30 minutes. Wait, only an hour and 30 more hours to go? What? No more time to go. Over. It's over. It's all over. What's up for tomorrow? I don't know yet. I'm thinking at the moment, probably Portia. But the final boss with the lady, I'll have to see. She was awesome. I actually loved her. It was kind of hard to kill her, even though she was the... What was that clip? What was that clip? I'll have to go look and see what that clip was. I feel like there's gonna be something more to that, and there wasn't. But thank you, Brad, so much for the shout out. Too bad we got a bad clip at the end. I don't know what that was. I'll have to go see if that was one of those accidental clips. No, I cry. I'm sorry. No cry. No cry. It'll all be okay. I'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, don't know what we're playing, but it won't be Village because I need to edit that, and I want to see if I can see where I need to do, what I need to do, where I need to go, and then maybe Portia, maybe something else. We'll see tomorrow, but I think it'll probably be Portia because I love that game. I love that game. All right, let's go see who there is to raid for the day. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you guys are going to enjoy your rest of your Sunday. Let's go see who we want to go hang out with. That's not who!
Across the entire country.
I was trying to scroll and I accidentally clicked somewhere. Why do I hear my brother's voice? Did you shout out my brother?
I didn't do that.
Thank you, Brad, for giving my brother a shout out. Take care, Scar. Take care, but Denny too. I hope you get lots of good sleeps. Thank you guys for so much for hanging out with me. Thanks for chilling time for you all. Thank you, Univice Moon 2. I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely rest of your Sunday. If you guys want, you can hang around and we're going to go join someone on the raid. You get channel points if you join the raid. So just to give you that, guys, that. I don't know. Who should we raid? I got like a ton of different ones I want to raid and I don't know who. Let's go raid. Let's go raid Kaluna Spitfire. It's her stream anniversary. So let's go raid. Let's go raid her. Raid channel. And I haven't got to check out a lot of her streams, so I'm kind of anxious to see what she's doing. Start raid. Alright, so let's join the raid, you guys. Like I said, if you join in on the raid, you get some channel points, which will help you if you want to use anything in chat. There's a couple good things in there. But also, it's just nice to spread the love and check out somebody new if you haven't seen them and everything. So, let's go see what she's up to. If you guys are not subbed to the channel, please use the first set of commands. If you are subbed to the channel, you may use the second one. You didn't even say her! Come on now, Brad, what are you doing? No, I'm just kidding. But she's having a stream anniversary. I don't know exactly what she's doing, but we're gonna go hang out, check it out, see what's up. I'll be there for a few minutes, and then, like I said, I gotta get up, I gotta eat, I gotta stretch, I got a few things I gotta do, but I'll try and hang out in her chat for a little bit and see what she's up to. But thank you guys again so much for the day. Thank you guys so much for, I don't know, that wasn't a sentence, but thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Sunday. Sorry, I was trying to get that all set up. The rest of your Sunday, and like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see you guys then. But for now, I'm off. And I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks again, guys, and bye-bye.